Okay, great. Okay, everyone. Well, um, I'll ask our vice chair to monitor the attendees for commission. Oh wait, never mind. There they are. Well, we are being live streamed on YouTube tonight, like every public meeting, and I do ask if you haven't, pull up to our agenda on www.anc5d.org. There you can see our agenda for tonight's meeting. This is ANC 5D. This is our monthly public meeting. Our public meeting today is obviously June 12th, and next month we will be taking our one of our breaks for the year. So feel free to catch us after this meeting via email or any contact information if you have any questions outside of the commentary period for the public. In terms of tonight's meeting, I do ask that we take note that we do have a packed agenda running till around 10 o'clock tonight. D Dot happens to be our very special guest today because they have a few presentations. And again, take note of the time for any of those presenting or sharing information with the public so we can move on with the agenda. Our parliamentarian, Commissioner Juan McCollum, will be monitoring time, as well as Robert's Rules of Order. Commissioner McCollum, you had your hand raised.
Yes, sir. I was just going to same statement from last week that I'll raise my hand when there's 2 minutes left. And after the 2-minute mark, if you're in the middle of talking, we're going to have to turn whoever off because tonight we will need to move forward with the meeting. Respectfully.
Understood. So just a friendly reminder to everyone, we do have a Q&A feature. That's where we'll be asking you to drop questions in regards to tonight's presentations and business matters. Please use the Q&A function for that. The chat, I believe, should be active. Feel free to message one of the panelists, aka one of the commissioners, if the chat is not functioning. It is active. For anything else, we'll go ahead and start with our meeting. I'll go ahead and do a screen share for the agenda. Just a second. Okay. With that being said, it's 7:06 p.m. Tonight is Monday, June 12th. I'd like to call to order tonight's ANC public meeting, starting with a basic roll call of ANC commissioners. I do welcome a new commissioner for 5D01. Yes, 5D01, Union Market, go ahead. Are you present?
Yes, I am present. Hello, everybody. Good to meet you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Arbuckle. 5D02.
Present.
5D03.
Present.
5D04.
Present.
5D05 is myself. I am present. 5D06. 5D06, Commissioner Henderson.
She was here a minute ago. Present.
Thank you. 5D07.
Hey, good evening. Present.
5D08, Commissioner May will be absent today. 5D09.
Present.
Thank you. I confirm that we have quorum for tonight's meeting. With that being said, we notified the public of our agenda in advance of tonight's meeting. Are there any commissioners that would like to add an agenda item to tonight's meeting before we adopt the agenda as is? Okay, taking silence as a no, we'll proceed. I do move that we adopt the agenda as presented to the public in advance of tonight's meeting. Can I get a second for that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell. All in favor of adopting tonight's meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. We'll adopt the meeting agenda as presented. Adoption of the minutes. Our secretary is absent tonight. Commissioner May has drafted the meeting minutes in advance and has shared that publicly online and through notice of our agenda. Are there any questions from commissioners in terms of the meeting minutes from last month's meeting? Okay, taking silence as a no. I do make a motion that we adopt the meeting minutes from May's ANC public meeting. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? And any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Our treasurer's monthly report, our treasurer is Commissioner Cobb. Would you mind sharing our monthly report, Commissioner?
Sure thing. For May 2023, we had an opening balance of $30,466.17. We had expenses of $27.56. It was our monthly MailChimp text subscription payment. But we also got our quarterly allotment from the district government of $3,714.54. So that leaves us with a higher balance than we started with, and our balance at the end of May was $34,153.15.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions from the commission or the public? Okay, taking silence as a no. We have no questions. Feel free to follow up with us if there are any questions on the the treasurer's monthly report. Okay, moving forward with our regular scheduled presentations from our offices and agencies. We have standing presentations. First, we'll start off with commissioner reports and then go directly into our public safety report. So for those who are not familiar with our commissioner reports, this is a good opportunity for commissioners just to briefly share what's going on in their single member district or any new information or new updates that you'd like to share with the public. Commissioner Arbuckle, we'll start with you. You have 3 minutes to share maybe a little bit about yourself since you're new to the commission and how folks can reach you and any current things that you're working on.
Hello, everybody. My name is Hector Arbuckle, and I am a resident of the Union Market area. And I was just sworn in on Wednesday. I'm originally from Iowa, but my grandparents live here in the district. My dad and my uncles grew up here, so I still have family in the area. So after college, I moved back to DC, or not back, but I moved near my family here in DC. And I'm just excited to get started. The main thing that's happened so far is I've been going through the permits and I submitted a letter of support for a after hours work request for a new restaurant.
Okay, 5D02.
Thanks, Chair Saucedo Guzman. Hello, everyone. I am the commissioner for Ivy City. We have a few things that are happening. The EPA will begin their monitoring for toxins due to the fact that National Engineering Products has continued to operate. They will begin monitoring in July. DOEE, Department of Energy and Environment, along with ACLIMA, they have a grant to start the pilot program for 2 weeks. So if you see a blue and white car, riding around. They will be in the Ivy City, Brentwood neighborhoods, Buzzard Point, and Mayfair. They will be collecting data for pollutants and toxins as well. And that information will be given to us around September. We will be beginning the planning for Ivy City's 150th year birthday, which is this year. And that event will happen in September. And that's it. We're still dealing with illegal dumping, and there was some shootings, and I'm hoping that the 5D officers or Captain Small will elaborate on that a little bit. And that's it. School will be letting out, and we want the kids to be safe. We will be having the SYP program going on, so we just need to keep an eye out on the children as they go back and forth to school so they could be safe in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D03.
Hi, my name is Anna Roblin. We've been doing a lot on BZA issues lately. We have a BZA case 1251 Moore Street, and that is a case we're going to vote on tonight. And we had a community meeting. The community is very much opposed to this project. And I'd like to ask anyone who is familiar with the project, who's here to, use the Q&A, use the chat feature, make your concerns known. It will help the other commissioners understand even better what's going on. There's also the case of 1108 Montello, which did have their BZA on June 7th, but the BZA people were very concerned about the visibility issues. So they have been asked to come back again and report on the 14th as well, the same date as 1251 Morse's BZA hearing, to provide the BZA people with a different plan that allows for greater visibility. The pit on Florida between West Virginia and Montello is something that I intend to work on. And I've been speaking with constituents and with two people from Mokers, the mayor's office, about it to see if we can get it developed, because it has been a problem for trash. It's a problem for people doing illegal things. So the community really would like to see that developed. And Anthony Black and Christopher Ingram, Christopher's going to be here tonight, have really been very generous in offering to really help a lot with that. So we'll see if we can get action on that. We have a major safety situations at Oren and Neal, which a lot of people are getting together to work on that. Oliver Stout and a whole lot of MPD support. So we're having a major community meetings on that. I share that corner with Commissioner Henderson. I'm going to start SMD meetings, which is going to be the first Monday of every month at 7. We're going to have the first one July 3rd, even though I know it's the holiday weekend, but I hope some people will be able to come anyway. And I'll be sending out information on that in my newsletter. If you're not in my newsletter or you would like to be, please contact me 5D03, and I'll put it in the chat at anc.dc.gov.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
5D04.
Thank you, Commissioner Stephen Cobb, 5D04. I'll just keep this short for the sake of time. Right now, the only bit of news is that if you live on the 1200 block of Queen Street between Montello and Penn/Holbrook, you are getting speed bumps later this year. I just learned last week from DDOT. And so installation will be, I think they said at the end of this summer. So just keep an eye out for the signs. Please, don't park on the street when they need to do the work. Just, let them do their work. And then we'll have a much safer block where cars don't fly down that hill.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. 5D05, plenty of stuff going on right now, not all of it. I know Captain Merrill will discuss some of the major issues occurring right now, but I do want to save the time for the rest of the presenters and just do a quick plug for an event happening at Trinity University next week on the 22nd. It's called Changing the Narrative on Gun Violence, a community-driven approach. I invite the community to come out to this event to join the conversation. I know a lot of us are frustrated with a lot of the violence that's occurring in our neighborhood, on our blocks, surrounding us entirely. And I would like to see folks more engaged in the conversation and see if we can get on top of any set some goals in terms of what our community is facing. I do also, again, as always, invite everyone to join the 5th District Citizens Advisory Council, which directly works with the 5th District for MPD. The commander typically joins us for those meetings the last Thursday of the month. You can easily find this information on the 5DCAC website, but we do directly state some of the issues that some of the policing matters that we're facing on our block, and we do get a lot of assistance. And we also do different things to support the community. We just had an appreciation barbecue last week for the officers at 5D. Some of us were there from 9 to 9, and it was just nice to see some of the officers that actually are on the beat in our neighborhood. So I'll leave the rest of my time to my colleagues, but I do hope that you all can attend or get involved in those matters. 5D06. Do we want to come back to you, Commissioner?
I propose that since we're here and clock is already going, we just let her 3 minutes, and after that we'll move on.
Okay. No, Commissioner, we can't hear you. Commissioner, do you want to log in again? Commissioner, I don't know what you're saying.
There's still about a minute remaining.
The Vice Chair, is your mute option working? I just want to double check that everyone can mute and unmute themselves.
Yes, it's working.
Okay.
Yeah, it's working.
Commissioner Henderson, if you're saying something, we can't hear you. I don't know if you want to type something in the or log back into the Zoom. You can log back into the Zoom. Maybe that would fix your audio settings. Or
For about 20 seconds.
Thank you, parliamentarian. Or you could try typing what you want to share.
Thank you for unmuting me, Chairman, and I want my 3 minutes. I've been in touch with Chief Benedict regarding a walk.
We have about 10 seconds remaining.
While I'm speaking.
There's about 10 seconds remaining, Mr. Chair.
I've reached out to the Department of Public Works.
Mr. Chair, time is up.
We'll allow Commissioner Henderson 2 minutes.
We're going to have to take
her 3 minutes.
Okay, if we're going to follow the rules,
Don't talk
then
while I'm
if we're
talking.
going to if we're going to follow rules, which I have no problem with. I have no problem with Commissioner Henderson speaking. But as a parliamentarian,
Commissioner Henderson, you're out of order. The parliamentarian's trying to speak and state something. Please let them speak. Thank you. You're out of order.
I have no problem with Commissioner Henderson speaking, but that is a change in the agenda, so we will have to take a vote on that measure.
We don't need to take a vote on you.
We will have to take a vote. We will have to take a vote to
extend. I'm going
extend.
to file an ethics complaint against you, Commissioner McCollum, for playing these games.
Feel free to file it. Feel free.
Participate in this meeting on behalf of
Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask as a parliamentarian if you would mute. I'm going to ask that you would mute Commissioner Henderson at this time.
I would like to make a motion. I motion that we allow Commissioner Henderson their 3 minutes after being able to fix their technical difficulties. Can I get a second on that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Roblin. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I oppose.
Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Commissioner Henderson, can you unmute yourself and take your 3 minutes to discuss your commissioner's report, please?
Thank you for unmuting me for the third time.
I don't have the ability to unmute you, only to mute you, but not unmute you.
I've reached out to Chief Benedict regarding the uptick in violence in our community and in our city. We're already at 103 homicides. We're having a safety walk this week, the Thursday or Friday at 6. For those of you that wish to participate, you can reach out to me at khenry029@AOL. I've had a problem building abated by the Department of Buildings, yet there are individuals in the neighborhood that continue to throw trash. We have a picture of two of them. One is a Caucasian male neighbor that's about 5'6", glasses, short brown hair. The other is a Caucasian female with a short blonde bob. If you have any additional video to show these individuals throwing trash on our public spaces, please send that to me. The Department of Public Works seems to be having an exceeding amount of difficulty providing basic services. So I have reached out to C. Sosa to start the community cleanups again. These will be done every Saturday between 8 and 10. You're welcome to join us, but we have to clean the trash up and we have to make sure that neighbors are providing their due diligence regarding keeping the trash from off of public spaces. I've had a meeting at the Starburst Plaza. I'll have another meeting. The water's back on. The cleaning contractor is doing a better job. I've reached out to CVS. We've had a number of disorderly people drinking, drugging, and grilling on that private space. They have been removed. We're going to continue to remove them. You will be seeing additional changes at the Safeway that makes it cleaner for all of us. So, and those of you that are on Oren and Neal, if you have any concerns and you wish to speak directly with me, I'm always open to hearing from my constituents. So please do not hesitate to contact me. My phone number is 202-556-5823. 202-556-5823. I thank you for participating in this evening.
Thank you. 5D07, that's you, Commissioner McCollum.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. For 5D07, I'd like to say that first, let me thank all the colleagues and it's particularly everyone in the neighborhood who came out on Saturday. We did have a fire on 20th Street, 826, actually squatters in the basement of the unit, and it caught a fire, and two of the neighboring buildings were also connected to the fire as well. If you all recall, there was a fire earlier in the year that resulted in one person dying. And so this street has been notorious with squatters and individuals that are going into properties that are not properly secured and staying either in the basements or, you know, on the floors of those units. So I want to thank everyone that came out. We are working with DC Fire and also with DOB at this time with securing all of these properties that are over in 5D07. There's a lot of the properties here that are not properly secured. And so I just want to say publicly that we are on top of that. Also, 845 19th Street, that has become an abusive developer to the neighbors as well. So what we're starting to do here is we're going to have a bad actors list that's going to be coming out for all of the development that's going on over in 5D07. And we're going to make that public so that the community will know those developers that are just coming in and doing whatever they want to do, however they want to do it. So we are actively putting that list together now, and it will be made publicly so everyone can review it and see it at their leisure. There was a shooting on May the 24th at 10:23 p.m. on 20th Street between the residents of 810 and 820. 2 or 3 different residents have contacted me regarding calling the police and asking for assistance, and no police officers showed up that evening. I do have the video of the shooting of the children running down the street when the gunfire occurred. I do plan to hold a meeting with the police. I hope that tonight Captain Small can kind of speak to that. On Wednesday, as I was getting out of my car in my back alley, there were about 10 rounds being shot. The individual was standing in the alley and shooting directly up to the other alley. No one was in that alley, but they were just shooting. And so if any neighbors would have come out and been taking their trash out or just walking in the alley, it would have just been a senseless shooting. I also want to just put 7 Food on notice that there was an agreement in 2021 with the Arbor settlement regarding the bollards to protect the retaining wall for a resident there. We are going to be talking to them regarding that. I have reviewed the agreement, and they did agree to put those bollards up, and we expect them to honor their commitment from 2021. And so I want to say to the constituent Will Thomas family that we're on top of it, and we will be doing something about that. For the interest of time, I want to say that my email is 5d07@anc.dc.gov. Please contact me with any questions or concerns. My newsletter will be rolling out, and I'll be able to speak more in detail about some of the things that are going on here. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. 5D09, Commissioner Black now.
Good evening. I'm Commissioner Bernice Blacknell, 5D09. I just have maybe about 3 things to discuss. First of all, one of my constituents was very upset about the letter in reference to the buses, the G4 and the D4 and the D8. They were upset because the X8 was not put in the letter, and I would just like to clear that up. The X8 was not put into the letter because they are not stopping the bus service on the X8. They are specifically trying to stop the bus service on the D4 and the D8. And also, I would like to bring up again in reference to License Day. It would be on August the 19th. From 10 to 5. Everyone is welcome. And I have not received an update in reference to the encampment that's going on at the Arboretum. I was informed that the government officials are still trying to work with the guy. It's going to take time. I know it's been a while, but as the ANC commissioner, I only can do so much, and I turned it over to the government officials. So we have been working and trying to help the guy with his living situation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Going back to the agenda, we have our public safety report being presented by the 5th District. I did promote our captain of panelists. Let's see. Captain Merrill, you have the floor whenever you're available.
Good evening. How's everyone doing?
Doing well. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Good to see you all. I just want to say we had 11 ADWs this month compared to 6 last month. That's because of the shootings in Ivy City. And I heard you earlier, Commissioner Rhodes, where you wanted to talk about the shooting on Kendall. Is that what you want to talk about? Okay, we could
Yes.
definitely talk about that. We have 14 robberies compared to 17, so we had an 18% decrease this month. And we had 4 burglaries compared to 7 the previous month for a 43% decrease. We did have 3 shootings in the 1200 block of Mount Olivet this month. 2 of those shootings are closed with the suspects being placed under arrest. The third one is still under investigation. There was a shooting. I heard Commissioner McCollum say something about May 24th. The last shooting we had over there was 1211 18th place on June 4th. And that ended up being, that suspect was arrested in that shooting as well. We have had issues over at Mount Olive, like I said, but we have been closing these shootings. We have overtime units also in the 5th district, so we've been utilizing our overtime, and we've been putting those units in the hotspot areas, Mount Olivet, Ivy City, Saratoga. And the new initiative this summer is going to be the focus patrol areas. We haven't heard of a SCI being planned for this summer. So it is going to be more focused patrols. So the areas, if you guys have any specific areas that you're concerned about, just let me know. But the focus patrol areas are data driven, and that's done by our crime representative, by our crime reps. So we have a little bit of flexibility with the focus patrol, but it is crime data driven. So if you guys have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Captain Merrill. I'll open questions to the commissioners and ask the public to drop their questions in the Q&A, not in the chat, in the Q&A, so we can keep that on record of the questions being asked. Going up, roll call, 5D01, any questions for MPD today? Commissioner Arbuckle, that's you. Any questions? Commissioner Rhodes?
Go ahead.
No, say if you had a follow-up on what you were addressing.
Oh, yeah, just the amount of gun violence that we're seeing, the amount of shootings and all over the city, but in our communities as well. What is being done about collecting or trying to get the guns off the streets, because it's going to get worse.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be the first one to tell you, we've gotten more guns this year than we've had at any other time, and crime is still up. So us recovering guns, it doesn't really equate to the reduction of crime, because every year we steadily get more and more guns every single year, but crime still is where it's at. So we do our gun recovery unit is big. We still continue to add officers to that unit, but gun recoveries really don't equate to the reduction of crime. We're more focusing on areas where we're having issues as far as the gunshots and all of that and stuff like that. So we're trying to put officers in those areas, and we're trying to do focused attention in those areas, and we're also trying to do operations in those areas with different resources we have in the city.
So will our communities be covered with MPD resources such as Ivy City, Trinidad?
Yeah. You guys we'll still have the coverage. It won't be like, the SCI years, but we'll have wherever we can find. You have a focus patrol area right there at Oakey and a Fenwick. So we do have an area up there on your part of Ivy City. We will, every 90 days, those areas will be changing. So we'll be moving those areas around. But we still plan on if we have an issue in a particular area, we plan on attacking that with everything that we have. So we are ready for the summer coming up.
Why is it just Fenwick and Oakey?
Yeah, that's just the data. And I'm telling you, the data came from that men's shelter at 1355 near Gavin. All of that crime, it just, so the crime analysis see all of that crime from that shelter, and it's driven from that area. But that crime is merely driven from that shelter. So that's the reason why that area is up there. That's purely data driven right up there.
Okay.
But if you have any other areas that you think will be better spots, please let me know. I'll definitely send it up to the chief.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
5D03, do you have any questions?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you that I can't seem to write in the chat to attendees. It's stuck on hosts and panelists, and I can't reach attendees. So I just wanted to let everybody know I can't put my email in the chat, but it's just like everybody's email, 5D03.
Any questions for MPD, Commissioner?
I don't know what's wrong with it.
Any
Oh, I'm
questions?
sorry. No.
Okay, thank you. 5D04.
No questions, thanks.
Okay. Captain Merrill, just focusing a little bit on Trinidad and including some of the questions from the public in here. There was a fair amount of shootings in the past couple of weeks, and I know you guys have been posted up on all of it and have been working directly with the owners of the 24/7 store right there off of Mount Olivet. Can you tell us a little bit more on the activity on the north end before we go in deeper into the south?
Well, the north end, it's still, they hang out in that alley. We've noticed the activity picked up over there. So we've been paying attention to that alley next to the Circle 7. The owners of that store, they've cooperated with us when we've asked them to do things. But now, since the new violence has popped up, now we're requiring that they have to get security there, armed security guard. So that letter was sent out by the Office of the Attorney General yesterday. So they should be receiving that very soon.
Okay, perfect. And then I have a question here from someone closer to the south end. Captain Merrill, can you specifically address the shooting last week? You kind of grouped all three shootings together. My neighbor was shot in last Wednesday's shooting. My neighbor was shot in last Wednesday's shooting and is still in critical condition in the hospital. The shooting is closed. What information can you provide on that shooting itself?
I can't really provide any information on that.
Got it. Okay. Well, at least you're being honest.
Sorry
Okay.
about that.
I'm trying to see if there's anyone specifically more to. Okay, no. 5D07.
I have questions.
Oh, 5D06. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Captain Merrill, I need you to elaborate on the shooting incident in the 1600 block of Levis. What is the status of any suspects? I know that my constituents are very upset about that matter. They've been working with MPD. We have individuals that are being adjudicated through the court that continue to come over there. So let's hear from you. And I also will repeat my question to you from last month's meeting regarding the status of the cameras and the homicides at 1600 and 1676 Maryland Avenue Northeast.
All right, so 16th and Levis, that is still under investigation. We have stepped up our patrols over there, our focus patrol as well. So we have assigned our crime patrol unit to that area as well. And what was your questions about the cameras, Commissioner? What addresses?
Cameras in those buildings were not what they should be to adequately assist with MPD's investigations. I understand you were assigned to go over there to address that issue. What is the status of those cameras? I need to know if the cameras are fully operational and are of use to MPD.
What are the addresses again, please, Commissioner, that you're talking about?
1600 and 1676 Maryland Avenue.
1670. Are those public cameras or that's the cameras from Union Heights?
They're the cameras in Union Heights.
Those are private cameras. We've been told that those cameras are operational.
Have you checked them?
Yes.
What's the status of the cameras, Captain?
They are operational, Commissioner.
Are they fully operational? Are they providing?
I'm not a technician. Commissioner. I don't know if they're fully operational.
If they're private cameras, I don't think MPD would be held liable to the.
The question was for Captain Merrill.
Well, the answer is I'm not a technician, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, thank you, Captain. 5D07, Commissioner McCollum.
Captain Merrill, thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate it. Thank you for, I think we communicated in email a couple of weeks ago. So I thank you for looping me into that email exchange. I wanted to specifically ask you, I know that you said that so let me just give you the shootings that I'm concerned with. On June 7th, there was a shooting in the alleyway between 19th Street and 20th Street. I know police responded to that. They put the yellow crime scene tape up. I went out, there were shell casings everywhere. Police were present. There was a shooting on May the 24th at 10:23 p.m. on 20th Street. I have the video footage of that the residents have sent to me. Two different sets of residents. I was out of town. Two different sets of residents said that they called the police and no police responded to the scene. So we did not have police presence there, according to constituents. There's also 1900 block of I Street. There's been shootings there. And my concern is, which I've said all along, is that I wanted us to be proactive over here in 5D07. And I know that we're saying that everything is driven by the data. But when we have 3 different shootings within a month that's taking place, I think the data would suggest that we could have more presence for police here. Now, I did ask in the last meeting if police officers could at least come and fill out their reports, just have some presence. And I still have not gotten that over here, but I have observed and recorded police officers sitting out in the parking lot at Safeway, sitting in the parking lot at Aldi, sitting in the parking lot at Ross, sitting up at Maryland, 19th and Maryland, up at the top of the hill. But I can never get any police officers to be over by the 7 Food store, over at the corner of 19th Street and H Street, or now that we've had these shootings that have taken place over on 20th Street, I can't get them to sit there for some time. So I just like to know, what type of data do we need to drive the police over here to help us out so that we can get on top of this?
All right, let's just make sure you're using the correct terminology. You keep saying shootings. Shootings is when someone's actually hit with a bullet. That's what we consider a shooting. When there's just gunshots, that sounds like gunshots. So those are 2 different things. So when you're saying shootings, you're confusing the public by saying shootings, and they're not understanding that those are sounds of gunshots, not shootings.
Okay.
Shootings is when someone's actually struck. And if you right, and the officers do come through that area. If you see officers sitting in cars and you don't think send the video to me. I mean, you don't have to send it to me. Let me know if you think the officers aren't doing what they're supposed to do. Instead of at the public meeting.
No. I'm not saying, so I'm not the captain of the police. I don't work for the police. So I'm not saying that the officers are not doing what they're supposed to do. But every time that the police are here, I'm constantly told that it's driven by data that they're here. And I have my constituents that are asking me, why do we not have police over here? Why are they not on our corners sometimes? That's what I'm saying. Why can we not get them over here? And I would like to have more presence. I do appreciate you for correcting me on the shooting. So let me be very clear. There's been a lot of there has not been strikes, so there's been no victims, but there has been a lot of gunshots here. And to me, gunshots lead to gun violence, which will lead to possible shootings. And so the proactive approach that I've been asking for is more presence of the police. So I would just ask again publicly that we can have police to come and be around and present on I Street, 20th Street, 19th Street, and very, very close to the 7 Food store, because you do know that we have the chair sitting community at the 7 Food store. And I know that I was told at one point that, there's no loitering law, but now those chair sitters, they've started sitting out in the street of 19th Street, and that is the public throughway. And I know that is not legal for them to sit out in the street. You cannot even park on that side of the street when you turn on 19th from Benning, because they're sitting in their chairs there. And so I'm just asking again publicly that we have more police presence there.
All right, Commissioner. We'll do that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, 5D09, Commissioner Bay is not here.
Hey, good evening, Bernice Black, ANC 5D09. I just want to piggyback on what Commissioner is saying. It is a lot of activity on 19th and 20th Street. little bunch that sits out there with their little cream truck and everything. So it would be nice if we can get some police presence down in that little block there of I Street. It's 19th and 20th and I. I walk back and forth up and down that street a lot of times, and I do see the guys there sitting out there. One of them that got so good, they got an ice cream truck out there, but nobody buys anything from off the ice cream truck.
We know
It's
about
just
the
sitting.
ice cream truck. Wait,
Yeah.
we're aware of the ice cream truck.
There's a few of them.
Okay. Mm,
Thank
mm.
Thank you, Commissioner. Just before I go on to these final public questions, Captain Merrill, I'll just like to make a friendly reminder to the public when it comes to this data-driven approach. It does matter when you call 911. I've seen an uptick in police presence in Union Market solely because we have residents that are calling 911. You need to make those calls. Don't assume someone is going to make that call for you. Don't assume your neighbor called. Don't you call 911 for whatever reason that you think your life is threatened or safety, a negative safety situation will occur. Call 911. It's what the mayor has been advocating for, and we need to see the data reflect the rest of South Ward 5 instead of just Union Market. Union Market tends to get what? A lot of new residents that are not used to a lot of the craziness that we go through. The other end of South Ward 5, we have to endure and really get used to these things, sadly, because it's just been happening for decades. But we need to still call 911. So just a friendly reminder to please do that. If you're not doing it, just get ready to do it now as we're coming into the summer. Things are going to get hotter. We already know what that attracts. So just a friendly reminder, please always call 911. Okay, Captain Merrill, some quick questions from the public that we haven't discussed already. And if something's currently still under investigation, just feel free to say so, and folks can follow up with you with the contact information you leave. But can you speak specifically to the shooting again on Orrin and Neal that happened this weekend after an all-nighter block party? This is regarding 1306 Orrin.
We didn't have a shooting at 1306 or.
Okay, sounds like Miss Mia Richards will be following up with you then. Next
Okay.
question, any update on 1900 block of I Street shooting that took place in May? This may be too vague.
Yeah, no, I know what they're talking about. No, there's no public information that we have that's released.
Okay.
But I do know what they're talking about, yes.
Okay, good. Well, they can follow up. Mr. Nguyen here, the criminal activities, including the shooting at 1854 Kendall Street building in Ivy City, have been going on for years. Is there anything that MPD is approaching to the site in general?
It was crazy. I just had a meeting with OAG that day, and we were talking about Kendall, because the owners had to put up some new cameras or something like that. There was some new deal that they worked out with OAG, and OAG was we were discussing it, and then the shooting happened. So OAG is on top of them, and the owner over there. They were really cracking down on that owner tough. So I don't think we really had any issues over at Kendall, big issues since until this recent incident. So OAG is going to be back on top of them again, and we'll be back on them again.
Okay, so the Office of the Attorney General is engaged. Okay, good.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Just a quick question from someone in Union Market. They noticed an increase in bike patrols. Is there something the community should be aware of?
No, I just put our bikes up there because we had the robbery issues up there, and because Union Market is so it's just a free for all once you get in there as far as the traffic patterns and stuff. So I just needed to get some bikes in there to help clear out those alleys and to help us, because it's sometimes hard for us to even get in there with our cars. So it's just easier for our bikes to get in there.
Okay, good to know. And then final question before we let you go, just to follow up on that Mount Olivet shooting, just to clarify, is the investigation still ongoing or is the case closed?
The case is closed, but the shooting, the homicide is still open. That is open.
Okay.
But the other two shootings are closed.
Okay.
With arrest.
Okay. Thank you so much, Captain Merrill. We've taken a lot of your time today, but we caught up on the agenda time at least. So I do appreciate you there. If there's any other questions, feel free to drop your contact information in the chat so people can reach out. And again, for the folks that are really engaged on these matters, please join us at our 5D CAC meetings. This is all we talk about and speak directly with Captain Merrill's bosses. So if you really want to speak to the commander of the 5th District on these issues that you feel need to be addressed, please join us. We really do appreciate more engagement from folks at these meetings. Thank you, Captain Merrill.
Thank you, guys.
Moving forward with the agenda, we have our Executive Office of the Mayor present on behalf of Mayor Bowser. We have Mr. Anthony Black. Mr. Black, feel free to take the floor whenever you're available.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's always a pleasure to be here at the 5D monthly meeting. Commissioner McCollum, pleasure. Commissioner Guzman, always a pleasure. And Commissioner Arbuckle, welcome. My name is Anthony Black. I'm the Ward 5 Mocha for the Mayor's Office. And for those who don't know, that's just the community outreach specialist. I'm the liaison between the Mayor's Office and the community. So Commissioner Arbuckle, I definitely look forward to working with you. There are no major updates at this moment. I know the pools are currently open Saturdays and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. up until June 26th. Also, the 31st annual barbecue battle will be happening on Pennsylvania Avenue, June 24th and 25th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. I do have some tickets available for you commissioners to distribute amongst the community. So I will definitely be reaching out to you for those, or just reach out to me and, give me a number and I'll try to make that happen for you. But if there are any questions, please feel free. Open to them.
Mr. Black, always a pleasure. We'd like some tickets. Commissioner Henderson.
Yes, ma'am. I will definitely get you some tickets, Commissioner.
Thank you very much, and always a pleasure seeing you.
Always a pleasure. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner McCollum, you had a question? Oh, you're muted, Commissioner McCollum. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to publicly thank Mr. Black for coming out on Saturday for the fire that we had on 20th Street. Mr. Black came out and we were able to stick around till we got all of the neighbors taken care of and all DC fire personnel and DOB and just all of the entities that needed to be on the scene. So he was here along with Mr. Ingram. So I appreciate both of you being there. And we also got to walk around and look at some other buildings that are on our hot list. So thank you so much. I wanted to tell you that publicly. We really appreciate it.
Not a problem at all, Commissioner.
Any other questions from the commissioners?
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank Mr. Black and Mr. Ingram for coming out, bringing masks and water. The really bad air quality days, and they went out and passed out masks to the community and were available for that. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, Commissioner Rhodes.
Okay, perfect. Commissioner Henderson, do you have a question? While Commissioner Henderson unmutes herself, we'll ask one question asked from the public. Mr. Black, what is happening on Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast?
That's the 31st annual barbecue battle. It will be from June 24th and 25th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay, perfect. When you get a chance, if you could drop that plug in the chat for us with your contact information.
I definitely will.
Commissioner Henderson, do you have a question? I can't unmute you, Commissioner Henderson. I can only mute you. I muted you because it sounded like there was air passing, like flatulence or something. Okay. Okay, I don't see any other questions from the public. Mr. Black, we appreciate your time. If you could just again drop your contact information in the chat for people can pull that up. And is there any yes, Commissioner Henderson?
Yes, before we go, I'd like to ask all of the commissioners to provide me with an address of where Safeway carts are in your neighborhood. The Safeway manager has committed to having someone come and get those, and certainly that will help to restore order in our community and make the community seem less chaotic and therefore less attractive to those that commit crimes. So you can reach out to me again at 202-556-5823 and send me a text or shoot me an email at 029@AOL. And certainly that's the case for any citizen that wishes to identify a Safeway cart as well.
Okay. Thank you again, Mr. Black. We believe we have Mr. Stout here from our council member's office. Okay, you're being promoted to panelist. Okay, Mr. Stout, whenever you're available, you can go ahead and take the floor.
Good evening, everyone.
How you doing?
You guys hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right, perfect. So we don't have any like specific things to talk about as far as announcements, but there has been a number of different events that's been happening within 5D. One is the Oren and Neil situation. That was a unauthorized block party. We had got the call in regards to that. MPD in their immediate efforts, they gave high visibility and units that monitor the area. They requested that the party goers lower the music. They cleared the roadway to ensure traffic could get through. And they also had their units stand by to ensure that there was no violence that occurred. After that, post that, we are going to be working with the OAG's office as well as the DOB and MPD as we move forward to find resolution to these type of issues and stop them or deter them from happening anymore. Another thing, about to go dead. So I might end up switching up because my AirPods may go off. But other than that, we also had that 8822 20th Street, which was like Commissioner McCollum had mentioned. I reached out to the homeowners. We spoke with them. We're going to be working with agencies to get to the bottom of bad actors in the development space. We've also had been in talks with the OAG's office, and they expressed their interest in doing briefings with the ANC commissioners in the ward. And I think that's something that everybody would enjoy to learn about. It could actually focus on giving the ANCs a better understanding of the zoning process and tools to advocate for the complexities and things of that nature that come with tenants and landlords. So our office will be within a brief discussion in regards to the public advocacy division that does enforcement cases to related housing nuisance and related to drugs, prostitution, and guns. So I think that would be something that everyone can take advantage of. I know Mr. McCollum, he's already aware of this, but we definitely want to make sure that everybody else acknowledges this and can use this resource from the OAG's office as well. Another thing that happened, so we have 1281 Sims Place, which is a multifamily that's been vacant for about like 3 years now. We got that request in, and on the 25th, they found that there was a violation that occurred. I guess it was overgrown trees and whatnot, and they did a follow-up inspection. They told them to have that abated within 8 days. They actually abated that, and things look a little bit better. So if you guys could just keep your eyes out for that. And if anything changes, just reach out to our office and we'll make sure that we get to the bottom of that. Other things to speak on, I think that's about it. Of course, we have the OAG's office been working with MPD in regards to the Circle 7 shooting, in which they're going to be sending out a notice for them to either, get their hours closed, or whether it's them to increase security in that area. So other than that, you guys could always reach out to us in our office, and I'll be able to help you guys with all your concerns. I know that right now the main concern is violence and shootings or hearing of gunshots and things of that nature. We are working close with MPD as well as violence interrupters, and we look to hopefully be able to minimize these type of events from happening.
Thank you, Mr. Stout.
Questions from you guys?
No, we appreciate you, Mr. Stout. We have noticed you guys more present in our part of the ward, and you all were present at Ivy City's festivities that were not canceled with any rain. You all still showed up, so we appreciate you. In terms of some of the work being done right now on public safety, is there any opportunity in the future for the council member to hold a town hall with South Ward 5?
Yeah, that'll be fine. We can definitely set that up.
Okay, perfect. We did see you also present at our meeting that was regarding the Trinidad Rec Center, so we appreciate the office's presence there as well. But with that being said, I think some commissioners had questions. Commissioner Henderson, you had a question?
Since the inception of Cure the Streets and the city or the council and the mayor's office allocating money to so-called violence interrupters, violence has actually increased. The 1200 block of 18th Place was completely liberated from shootings and foolishness. And now we have Cure the Streets members down there allegedly engaging in drug trafficking. We had a shooting down there. So everywhere that these so-called violence interrupters are supposed to be working, our communities are seeing an uptick in violence. So the data suggests that it's not working. So we need to go back to community policing in general. I put out a call that we need assistance. I'm asking the chief to
Commissioner Henderson, to stay on topic. Is this a question for the council member's office?
Commissioner, you're very rude.
Commissioner Henderson, is there a question?
I'll reach out to the council member's office. And you're very rude, and you don't know how to facilitate a meeting without being.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions from the commissioners?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Rhodes.
Thanks again. I want to reiterate what the chair spoke on. You all came out in the rain, left it out with us. That was great. Also, what is the council member office doing about a lot of illegal construction? We are having a lot. On top of the shootings and shots fired, we're having a lot of illegal construction, and it takes so long for, once we put in the ticket or the complaint, it takes so long for them to come out and inspect and give them a stop work order. And by the time that happens, the work has been done and completed.
Yeah.
How can we speed up that process or have some consequences on these developers that continue to work?
So I would say the same exact thing. I know that we have been working together on a number of different development projects, and there'll be contractors out there. They'll be doing the work. You guys will send us videos. You guys will send us pictures. I would even possibly even come down there to come check out what's going on. And I send that over to DOB, and they will give us an inspection date in which we needed them to be there that day at that time to see when it exactly occurred. So I guess what DOB is, they have to actually see, be like literally be there physically while the illegal construction is occurring. I don't know exactly how we get around that. I would assume that everything that we have as far as evidence can, help out with our efforts. So, I mean, that's something that we're pushing for. Again, if you guys ever do have any of those type of things that are happening, I know 1724 has been one of those issues. I mean, and the greatest thing is that we have someone that literally will call me he'll call me every day, Mr. Lewis, to let me know anything that's going on there. And we've stopped a number of different things and helped a lot of people from, that are safety hazards and things of that nature, just because of that. So what I do with my office is that we do have a good relationship with DOB, and I can literally just call them right away. And sometimes they can send someone out, and sometimes they can't send someone out until the following day or a couple of days after that. But I mean,
Yeah.
I would still, continue the effort of doing whatever we can.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, Commissioner McCollum, you had your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. South, for being here. And I appreciate you working with me. We have some email exchange going back and forth now. So not to get too much into that, but I do want to echo what Commissioner Rhodes just shared. I want to also say that it's not even just the timing of being present and seeing what's going on, but it's also just the systems that they have in place at DOB. For example, I have 1800 H Street that has undergone a complete renovation, new plumbing, new electric, taken out the entire backside of the home. We have reported, we've taken videos, we've had the police, there's police reports, there's everything. There's been a stop work order. The homeowners went down to DOB and requested a permit to put new kitchen cabinets up and drywall in kind. Permitting gave the homeowners a permit while there was an active stop work order. The homeowners came home and the developers, and they put the permits in the window to then give the illusion to the neighbors that now the stop work order was lifted. So they took the stop work order off the house, had the permits there just to replace cabinets, and they resumed doing all of this major renovation to this place. So I just happened to go up to look at the permits and saw that it was to put cabinets. I then emailed back to DOB only to find out that there is still an active stop work order. So, an inspector came out, the inspector put a new stop work order up. There's now been a designation as a vacant building. But the question was, how are these two systems not talking to each other? So it's, we left from DCRA and went to DOB, but it seemed like all we did was just change names, and we still have the same infrastructure problems that existed when DCRA was present. So I'd like to work with the council member and with Mr. McDuffie's office, Councilmember McDuffie's office, to try to do a full throttle investigation to see how these systems can respond to one another, so that we don't have, again, these bad actors that know that they can go in and kind of ask for one permit while they're still under a stop work order and come back and kind of give the neighborhood, the illusion that now the stop work has been lifted and, they can go back to work. And I know we have different, I guess, systems out there where neighbors can go and research and find out if houses are still under stop work. But I mean, at the bare minimum, the system down at DOB should be speaking to one another. Illegal construction and permits should be talking to one another. Their internal system should.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that comes with the bad actors that take advantage of the ineffectiveness or, things that are just not running as efficiently as they should be or they could be. And there's always people that slip through the cracks. But that's why we're here. So we should be able to, look into that. And again, we have a great relationship with McDuffie's office and, you know, with Kelly as well. And she's coached me through a lot of things and to where I've been now. So I would definitely down to work on that.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate that because, you know, my fear is just, you know, it's a safety thing. You know, when these projects are completed and floors are falling in and, you know, people are
Yeah.
getting hurt, it becomes a liability back to the city at that point. And so I think we can do better than this and we can offer better services than that. And I do echo Ms. Sislo. She has been very, very helpful. And I'd say I shared with the both of you when we did our walkthrough that it's really good that the two offices are working together. So I commend you all on that. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Stout. Thank you, Commissioner McCollum. Commissioner Henderson, you had a question? Did you have a question, Commissioner Henderson?
Can you hear me?
You're not muted.
Okay, great. Yes, Mr. Stout, I'd like your assistance in following up with the director for the Department of Public Works. Mr. Spriggs is having an exceeding amount of difficulty accepting leadership and asserting his leadership role as the director for the agency. Services have fallen. Street sweeping is not what it used to be. And there are a number of opportunities where citizens, including myself, are putting in service requests and the personnel are responding. They're referring, they're saying, well, we'll just, there's nothing found. And then I have to follow up with photos. I mean, the council member did initially address it, but this is something that cannot be allowed to fester, because if the agency is failing to provide services across Ward 5, that is an issue, you know, that is of great, it should be of great concern to the council member. So I want his continued assistance, and I'd like some follow-up regarding any successes that he's able to claim in getting Mr. Spriggs to do the job that we're paying for.
So I'm more than willing to work with you on that and to get you lead way on that as well.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any questions from the public, but Mr. Stout, we do ask that you drop your contact information in the chat. We appreciate you for attending tonight, and a friendly reminder, we are not here next month, so we'll see you in August.
Okay, and I also would like to say welcome, Commissioner Arbuckle, and I look forward to working with you as well. I know we got to meet briefly for your swear-in, and look forward to getting some work done.
Thank you. Good to meet you as well. I mean, we met before, but it's been good to meet you.
Okay, perfect. So moving forward with our agenda, we have finally our requested presentations. Our first set from DDOT is on the New York Avenue project and trail update. I have promoted one of the presenters to panelist.
Hi, I'm Jamie Ernst, Transportation Planner with DDOT.
Let me mute someone. We have back noise.
Sure.
Go ahead. I think you're good now.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jamie Ernst. I'm a Transportation Planner with DDOT. Will I be sharing the presentation, or will you share it on your end? I'm happy to do.
If you could pull it up, that would be great.
Sure. Just a second.
No problem. Our next presenters are also Miss Asia White on Nalia Studio. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that right. Ivy City Takeover. So they'll be presenting next. Friendly reminder to the public, if you have any questions, please use the Q&A. We have that option available for you to ask questions, so we can ask them directly to the presenter, and the chat is open. And yes, the captions should be available to read. So go ahead, Miss Jamie, whenever you're available.
Okay, are you all able to see this?
Yes.
Wonderful. Yeah, so I'm here to talk about the New York Avenue Street Tape and Trail reconstruction project. I will preface this by saying this is meant to be a high-level overview, but we are holding a virtual public meeting June 28th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And the information for that, it's held via WebEx. It's on the website. So if you have any more in-depth questions, those will largely be answered at the public meeting. So the scope of the study is to develop improvements along New York Avenue, approximately 2 miles between Florida Avenue Northeast and Bladensburg Road Northeast. The aim of the study is to provide connections to existing bike and pedestrian infrastructure in the area and create connections to both residential and commercial destinations. This project was built off a prior study from 2017, which recommended one alternative. And then this next phase of the study, we have a second alternative that we're considering. And one of those primary goals is to minimize right-of-way impacts from the alternative from the 2017 study. So one of the first things that the project team looked at is the existing bike network in the study area. So that means identifying bike share locations, looking at other planned bike improvements and connections that have been implemented since the 2017 study. So we looked at that and looked at items that have already been constructed. And now we're looking in to fill gaps in the existing bike network. And so if you see in blue, that is the current project area for New York Avenue. And there are also a few other proposed improvements in the study area, one of which is Mount Olivet Road, which my colleague Will Hansfield will talk about in more detail tonight as well. So what we're calling alternative 1 is the first alternative recommended from the 2017 study. So you see here in the bottom right, that's an aerial view of the study area, and we've zoomed in to one particular segment. And again, we'll go through every segment of the study area in the public meeting on the 28th. But this first alternative, what we're showing here is from 4th to 9th Street Northeast on New York Avenue. This option is proposing a separated cycle track that's 10 feet on the north side of the street, a 4-foot buffer, and then a 10-foot sidewalk. And then on the south side of the street, we're proposing a 10-foot sidewalk with a 6-foot buffer to the travel lane. And this second alternative is what the project team has come up with in this latest iteration of the study. So this is proposing a 10-foot shared use path on both sides of the street. On the north side, there'll be a roadway guardrail at the curb. And on the southbound side, we'll have the 10-foot sidewalk along with a 6-foot planting strip. So there were some significant reductions to the north side in this second alternative, but those were brought forward to minimize right-of-way impacts, decrease the cost of constructability, and then shorten the timeline to move the project forward. So here's a chart comparing the two alternatives. Again, we'll go into more detail at the public meeting about these. So in terms of the mode separation, the first alternative has a separate bike and like the trails, the uses are separated. In the second alternative, it's a shared use path with both bikes and pedestrians. There'll be significant reductions to right-of-way acquisition in the second alternative versus the first. Our first alternative required approximately 17 property acquisitions. This second alternative only requires 2. The cost is also significantly different between the two alternatives, and the schedule is also shortened. So our recommendation tentatively at this point is the second alternative due to impacts to right-of-way, lessened impacts to right-of-way, less costs, and a streamlined schedule. So this is where we are now. I'll be going to ANC meetings this week and next week. Then our public meeting will be held June 28th. We'll get more detailed feedback from the public and go through the plans in more detail. We'll then review the public comments through the month of July, finalize our concept design and phasing plan, and then complete our environmental documentation. And then following that, the project would go into design and construction, which I don't have a current timeline for. So we do have a project website here and a project email. If you go to the project website, it will also give more information on both alternatives and then also provide the information to log into the public meeting. And I do want to flag one more project in the study area where we're also having a public meeting. This is the North Capitol Street corridor study. We're conducting a high-level feasibility study. We'll also have a virtual and in-person meeting for this project as well. And if you'd like to find out more information about that project, the link to the website is here. So I'm happy to answer any questions in the time that we have. And again, the public meeting is the 28th, and we'd love to hear from all of you there as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ms. Jamie, for sharing that information. We do have some questions in the Q&A, but I will open it up to commissioners first. If there are any questions from commissioners, if you can raise your hand so we can ask the questions to Ms. Jamie. Sorry, trying to exit the Commissioner Rhodes, 5D02.
Yes, thanks, Jamie, for the presentation. As you know, we're doing we're being involved with the New York Avenue Vision Framework, and they have done community walks and just different things with the community. Do you all plan to do this, and how are you going to get that information out? Are you all just going to post it on the ANC meetings, or are y'all going door to door?
We're distributing door hangers for the public meeting. The information is on the website. We put out a public meeting notice with the city, and I also hope that you all can share the public meeting information with your constituents as well.
The reason why I was asking, because we need more engagement with DDOT and the public, and we need to collaborate with the Office of Planning and you all and the community. All of us need to work together. So if we could do that, if we can just do that better, instead of just door hangers.
Yes, understood.
Great.
Okay. And if you'd like to follow up with me separately, I'm happy to work with you to think of better ways to do that.
Thanks. I will.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I can put my email in the chat also.
Okay.
5D04.
Thanks. Jamie, I was just wondering, is the comment period still open on this project?
It is, yes.
When does it close?
So this phase of the project ends in September. So what we're aiming to do is gather most of our feedback at the public meeting and then during the month of July, so we can incorporate those comments into the final concept design. So the comment period isn't really closed, but this phase of the project ends in September, and we'd like to get the bulk of our feedback over the summer, the next few months.
Oh, thanks.
Commissioner Henderson, you had a question?
I'm sorry, I think you're muted.
You're muted, Commissioner Henderson. While Commissioner Henderson unmutes themselves, we did have one question from the public. Is there a plan to connect the future New York Avenue cycle track to the MBT?
At this phase of the project, no, but that is something we're looking into.
Okay. And just to circle back on those meetings that you're having with the public this month, I believe you have one virtual, one in person, correct?
No, so for New York Avenue, it's just a virtual public meeting. That's on June 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. That information is on the project website, which I saw was put in the chat and is also in this presentation. And then for North Capitol Street, we are having one in-person meeting, and that is June 24th, and then a virtual meeting on June 22nd. And that information is also on the project website, which is linked in this presentation as well.
Got it. And do you know in those meetings what the style of engagement looks like for residents? Sometimes being commissioner, we get, I guess, kind of plopped up and get asked all the questions, but do regular residents, regular people on the block, do they get to ask questions?
Yes, they will. Yes, they will.
Okay, perfect. Commissioner Henderson, you had a question?
Ms. Ernst, would you please provide the location and the time of the meeting on the 28th?
It's a virtual public meeting, so it's held via WebEx, and that link is on the project website, and I can also put it in the chat.
And what time?
From 6:30 to 8 p.m. I apologize.
Can you just articulate the particulars for the WebEx link?
Sure. It's a link. There's no
citizens can go.
The website's on the chat.
Project website, the link, and there's no registration required.
Reiterate what the project website is.
Sure.
There seems to be a technical difficulty with seeing what's in the chat.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. The project website is nyav.ddot.dc.gov. And when you visit the project website, the first thing that comes up at the very top of the page is public meeting information.
Thank you. And can you also provide the time for the meeting on the 17th regarding the Bladensburg Road?
So my colleague Karen McAllister, she'll be presenting. I think she's the last one on this part of the agenda, so she'll be speaking about the Bladensburg meeting.
Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ernst. We appreciate your time. If you can, I believe you did drop all your contact information in the chat. So we thank you for presenting tonight and we look forward to work with you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is Miss Asia White. Let me promote you to panelist.
Hello, can everyone hear me and see me?
Yes.
Awesome. I will also start to present my screen. All good?
Yes, perfect. Thank you, Miss White.
No problem. Hi, everyone. My name is Aisha White, and I run Nyla Studios. It's my private art practice. I'm located in Ivy City, right across the street from the criminal school, working with Commissioner Rhodes over here. I'm proposing, or I guess presenting my application that I will be submitting and pending funding, hopefully engaging with the Ivy City community for a spring and summer 2024 art installation. This is a part of the DC Commission on Arts Humanities FY24 Public Art Building Communities grants. This can be up to $75,000 for individuals to apply for to activate communities. Other organizations, if you're interested in listening to this call, can get up to $150,000 if you're an arts nonprofit in DC. So definitely recommend people interested in engaging the community sign up for this. My studio and my practice, I am a full-time artist and art consultant. I work specifically with art as a tool for civic engagement, creative placemaking, and community engagement. I'm trained, that's what my master's degree in, with an undergrad degree in business administration. I manage public art projects ranging from $5,000 to $850,000 projects. Proposing something much smaller on the scale for Ivy City for my first time engaging here, since I only moved here this year. But I'm really excited to use this as a tool for getting to know the neighborhood more. And also one of the key things that I've created programs for in the past is helping residents have them feel more ownership over the areas that they're engaging with and live in, especially if there's a lot of blight and vacant properties. This is an example of a project I did last summer, working on specifically focusing on Black women's health and bringing joy, processing anger through joy, basically, and how we work with Black women to sort of work through those issues as a community and collectively. So that's the basis of my practice. For this project, I'm applying as an individual artist with two other artists, Sasha Banks, who's the amazing author of this American Mind poetry book, which looks at building a post-white supremacist, post-capitalist American of our dreams on the ruins of the past. Will America be an Afrofuturist utopia or an Afro-pessimist wasteland? So bringing to life her poetry around the neighborhood of Ivy City. And Amber J. Phillips, which is an amazing writer and media producer who operates under this group or the name of Amber Abundance. So talking about Black femme and Black abundance and joy in particular. So using these topics through public art to engage communities. So how? These are some of the stills from Amber's work, but taking some of their practices individually and placing them in areas around the neighborhood where we could use more color and creativity and actually have more livelihood come back to our neighborhood. This is a little bit of a sample from Amber's portfolio, but it says normalize Black girls being better than you, especially at stuff you thought you were good at. So how can we bring joy and playfulness into engaging with our communities again? Here are some other screenshots from work I would curate into spaces like this, which is the school bus terminal right there on New York Avenue. Behind there, these blanket vacant, like kind of square, which is perfect for a temporary gallery. Looking at different artists like Vanessa German and Janae Williams, who are including imagery of people of different body shapes, disabilities, ages in particular, of all generations, including in our vision of a Afrofuturist future of Ivy City. Trying to make sure I'm not running over time. I've also been talking with Kayla and B Realty, they're open to the idea of using their window fronts that are empty as also spaces to put some of Sasha's poetry and other images from artists that I'd be working with. So there's plenty of opportunity and space. And again, this is pending the approval of the budget. And this is an example of another public art campaign I had in DC, where I was specifically working on Black maternal health in DC. We put these posters around. They include QR codes where people can access resources on how to donate to the community. So we talk about Empower DC's work happening or other ways people can engage with QR codes on the artwork itself. I have a long-term vision. I don't think I'll be able to cover it in this specific application, but my individual practice includes projection mapping, which could mean looking at the larger structures in the neighborhood that are empty and activating them visually at night. I don't think I'll be able to include this, but this is part of a more 2 to 3 year plan of mine in terms of getting funding to support the ways in which we can start to really bring together the community. I want to say before I close and open it up for questions, my practice is social practice. So everything that is in this presentation is just the application phase. And then it comes back to the community where we'll start having many like art pop-ups where we'll talk to them about the type of energy or imagery we'd like to see in the neighborhood that expresses who they are and who they want to be and who they want this neighborhood to be. And creating all of that is something that I strategically have always done with all the projects in my portfolio. So I'm really excited. I'm sitting right now looking at the empty boarded up windows of the Carmel School and just hoping that we can get this funding. So this is a request for a letter of support from the commission for this application that I will be submitting next month. So thank you, and we'll open it up to questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Ms. White, for your presentation. Very colorful, a lot more colorful than some of the developers that come our way. So we appreciate the color there. And just to clarify, so there's no confusion, since you were allocated a certain amount of time, so you were trying to use your time wisely to speak. You are not requesting funds from the commission. You're only requesting a letter of support for this project for you to seek funds through this grant, correct?
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Do any of the commissioners have any questions for Ms. White? Okay, I don't.
That was awesome. That was awesome and beautiful. I can't wait till you start.
Okay, I don't see any questions from the public either. We do appreciate, again, the presentation, very clear, very concise. With that being said, I do make a motion that we support Ms. White in this project for Ivy City. Can I get a second on this motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rhodes. All in favor of supporting, drafting a letter of support for Ms. White as she seeks funds from a grant for this project, say aye.
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 Okay.
Thank y'all so much.
Just to make sure, Commissioner McCollum, I think he had to step away to handle the MPD matter that he was discussing. Is Commissioner Blacknell still on? You're muted, Commissioner Blacknell, if you voted. Same for you, Commissioner Henderson.
I'm here.
Thank you. Commissioner Henderson, do you have a vote? I don't know if they're there. Okay, all opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. Ms. White will give you that letter of support. If you can reach out to Commissioner Rhodes, and we'll be in touch with getting you that all set away.
Yep, that's beautiful.
Thank you, Ms. White. Okay, moving forward with another DDOT presentation today. My lovely friend, Karen McAllister. Let's see, I got you in chat, Karen. Yes. And while Karen gets situated, I'd just like to reiterate where we're at on tonight's agenda. We're here at Commission Actions. We've had our first, second, and going into our third presentation. We're doing very well on time. So again, friendly reminder, if you do have questions, and I'm sure you guys are going to have questions on these DDOT projects, please drop them in the Q&A. Comments, leave them for the chat, but the Q&A, please, questions for the public. That means it's just not a question for you, but also for your neighbors. So Karen, thank you so much for coming and joining us at today's meeting. I am excited for your presentation, not just because I kind of know what you're gonna present, but you tend to do really good presentations. So I'm excited to see that the public will get to experience that.
Well, thank you very much, Commissioner. Good evening, everyone. Let me share my screen. Okay. All right. Can I get a thumbs up or a yes that you guys can see my screen?
Yep, you're good to go.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and set my timer and adhere to the 15 minutes. So again, good evening. I'm Karen McAllister, and I'm the project manager for the Bladensburg Road Multimodal Safety and Access Study. And a quick slide on the purpose of the Bladensburg Road Study for those here tonight who might be hearing about this study for the very first time. So it's a study, it's a traffic study, multimodal, meaning we're looking at cars, we're looking at drivers, we're looking at pedestrians, we're looking at bicyclists, people who take the bus, freight, everything. Multimodal study because we want to improve safety and access, meaning people being able to use the road in all those different modes. So this next bullet here, we analyzed the corridor, all those different modes. We took a look at some of the safety issues and how people are getting around. And another part of this study was we really wanted to sort of re-examine or think about how the roadway could be reconfigured. And so a lot of things were on the table, including, there's 3 travel lanes in each direction, so a total of 6. Could we repurpose those travel lanes in a different way? Access management, meaning, where you can turn along the road. Could we change that, restrict that, make that safer? We were also looking at adding bicycle lanes or bus only kind of facilities, bus only lanes. And so this is just coming up with the design, right? It's not construction plans, but these conceptual designs are really important because this sets the path forward for more. My screen just went out. There we go. For the construction plans. And this project is situated such that we're staying within the DDOT right-of-way. And what that means is we're not going to buy private property to do this project. We're going to stay within what we own. And then the final piece is we needed to do an environmental review of the project and make sure that, we were looking at all those different factors. Sorry about my screen. Okay, here's a look at the schedule. We've been working on this for a year. We kicked off last January. We formed some advisory committees. We started doing outreach last spring in 2022. We had our public meeting last summer. It was a virtual public meeting, just kind of letting people know about the project. I think we did a mail out postcards to a couple of different zip codes in Ward 5. And then over the last summer, we developed some draft concepts. Last December 2022, we had a second public meeting. This was in person at the Arboretum, where we shared those 2 concepts that we came up with for Bladensburg Road. This past spring, we took a bunch of different evaluation metrics that I'm going to talk about in a minute to help us figure out which concept made the most sense. And then here we are where my cursor is now. We're getting ready for public meeting number 3 of the study. And this will be the final meeting for the study. It's this Saturday, June 17th. It's an open house. So it's at the Trinidad Rec Center in the multipurpose room. Please drop by if you're able, anywhere between 10 and 12, a couple hours. There's no presentation. Instead, DDOT's going to be there with our maps, and we're going to talk to you, and we're going to show you the preferred alternative. If you can't make the meeting, that's okay, because we have a great project website where we're going to load all the maps and you can take a look and you can give your opinions online. And then we're going to give about 4 weeks for public comments. And so that's that July 12th date. That's when we need to stop taking comments and really just start finalizing the study. Study's going to end in August. And then I think you've heard, like Jamie was talking about, well, after the study, that's when the construction begins. And so we'll start making more detailed plans in the fall of this year. And then it kind of goes from like 30% to 65, 90, and then final. So you got to give a couple of years for those plans to be finalized, and then construction begins. You know, a few years out, construction will begin. So this is a snapshot of the preferred alternative, which is concept 2. And don't worry if it looks really small, because I hope I'm running out of time. I want to show, no, I'm good on time. I'm going to show you larger versions of the map. But as a, this as an overview, this is what concept 2 includes. We've got 2 travel lanes in each direction of Bladensburg Road for cars. We have off-peak parking like it is today, left turn pockets. These are really helpful for keeping traffic moving, but also for safety. So you're not stuck behind a left turning vehicle, and the left turning vehicle doesn't feel like an aggressive driver behind them. Bus stops, we're moving most of them to the far side of the intersection. So what that means is it's on the other side of the intersection if you were going, you know, in that direction. And that's for safety. It's also for bus efficiency. Many pedestrian improvements, crosswalk safety improvements. I'll put my cursor right here where I'm at. So there's a many crosswalks right now on Bladensburg Road that they don't have a traffic signal. There's no light. There's no like flashing, you know, it's just, you just cross, and those are very unsafe, and we want to get rid of those. So we're proposing some, we call them hawks. There's one over by Fort Lincoln on the northern end of Bladensburg Road. You have to hit the button, and then it goes from like a dark light to a flashing yellow to a flashing red, and then a solid red. So then cars know to stop when it's the solid red. So hawks. Pedestrian islands. So those are those concrete in the middle of the road. So you can go a couple lanes of traffic, and then you stop, and then you can look, and then you can keep going. So it's like a pedestrian island. Median extensions. There's already a median along Bladensburg Road. We're recommending extending that and closing it in some places where we don't think it's safe to make turns. Widening the sidewalk. Unfortunately, not the whole thing, but where we can, where there's space, where we can widen it. We definitely want to meet the ADA requirements of 4 feet is the minimum width. Also adding curb extensions. These shorten the crossing distance. Adding protected bike lanes in each direction, one in each direction. Curb radius, so that slows cars down when they're turning. Consolidating a very hectic intersection, which I think everyone knows pretty well, which is 17th Street and Mount Olivet. You know, currently it's 2 intersections. They're pretty close to each other. It's kind of chaotic. So we've got a really nice design for putting those together and making it one. And then finally, Maryland Avenue, it's two lanes in each direction. And we want to convert that into just one way, which would be westbound, which would be like going towards Bladensburg Road. Okay. I mentioned, how did we decide concept 2 is what we wanted to recommend? Well, we looked at a lot of things. We looked at pedestrian safety. We looked at slowing down speeding vehicles, calming traffic. We looked at bike safety. Could we reduce crashes, vehicle crashes, and other types of crashes, actually all crashes? Looking at the bus, making the bus stops at a safer location. Could we improve the speed of the bus? We also looked at traffic congestion and delay. That a lot of people use Bladensburg Road, and it has New York Avenue is like the worst intersection in the district for traffic. So that we were cognizant of that. And then we wanted to know what the community said, and we gave out, people took our survey, and so that went into our evaluation as well. This is a condensed version of the metrics that I just mentioned here on the left. And so this column is right now what Bladensburg Road, it's the no build, we call it. If we don't do the project, this is what you're getting, right? 3s and 4s, which are 3s are kind of in the middle, 4s are not so great, right? Because 5s are the worst. Anything like in a red is bad, is very poor. And then this is concept 1, which we are not recommending. And then concept 2 is what we're recommending. And you can see that for the first 4 metrics, pedestrian safety, reducing speed, bike safety, and reducing crashes, both concepts do very well. They're much better than if we don't do anything at all. However, the last 2, bus reliability, concept 1, and if you're not familiar with concept 1, it had bus queue jump lanes, so it had like some bus lanes, but it didn't go the whole corridor. And not going the whole corridor, not having it throughout the whole corridor, it did not help get the bus to move any faster, because what happened is the bus was in its own lane for a little bit, and then it had to get back out into traffic with the other regular cars. So that's one of the reasons this was poor. And then the other thing is traffic, like all traffic overall. Concept 1, not very good, because it's reducing the travel lanes from what it is now, really 3 during rush hour to just 1 during rush hour. I've got 3 minutes left. Okay, so this is another look at traffic. And at the meeting, we could go into so much more detail, but this is 6 of the busiest intersections along Bladensburg Road. On the left here where my cursor is, this is showing you the number of seconds of delay as if we don't build the project. And then this is if we did concept 1, which we're not recommending. And this is concept 2, which we are recommending. And since in the interest of time, I just want to highlight the major differences between concept 1 and concept 2. At 17th Street at that intersection, it's already pretty bad when we don't build it, but it gets like doubly bad, right? If we did concept 1, it gets a little bit worse with concept 2. New York Avenue, much worse in the morning. Queens Chapel, it's double. It's worse both AM and PM, and then South Dakota, worse in the AM. So those were major considerations we had to consider. Another way to look at traffic, the number of seconds or minutes, really, if you were to go from one end to the other. Currently, I guess it would take you, anywhere from like 8 to 10 minutes existing. And then, if you went with concept 1, which we're not recommending, it's up to 3 minutes more. Concept 2, it's not, you probably wouldn't notice the difference. In one scenario, going northbound in the PM peak, it's 1 minute 43 seconds more. And then finally, another input that we got was this is the people who took our survey. This is what they said, the community. So this is we had two different, we had people who came to the meeting in December, and that was in-person meeting, and they took the survey, they took a paper survey, they gave it back to us. And the people who took the paper survey who came to the meeting in December, the split was like 70-30. So like 70% liked concept one, which is the one we're not recommending. And then people also got to take the survey online, and again, concept one was preferred, 80-20. And I guess, you know, for the reasons, this is one of many metrics, the community survey, and we have to sort of balance the traffic, and we knew that the bus lanes actually didn't perform like we had hoped in concept one. But the other safety benefits between concept one and concept two are very similar. And so for those reasons, DDOT is recommending concept two. And I am at time, and I wanted to pull up the plans. So, you know, I could stick around. We could let the next presenter come if there's more time. You could fit me back in, or we could just say that's enough, and we could go to Saturday's meeting. You could see the plans there.
Well, I would say that's a good reason to attend the in-person meeting, because I did attend it in December alongside some other commissioners. We got to engage the folks designing these projects directly. We got to ask questions directly. You all were very well informed on the spaces and areas that we were addressing, so that's really good. So I do recommend residents to attend the meeting that will be held in person at Trinidad Rec Center. Is that correct? Ms. McAllister, can you share that information? Again, I have one question from the public that's just confirming the location and information one more time.
That's right. It's at the Trinidad Rec Center, and I can put it in the chat. And it's this Saturday, June 17th. It's from 10 a.m. till noon. Open house. Just come by when you can. And then if you can't make it, the project website will have everything, and I'll put a link in the chat to the project website.
Okay, perfect. Just for the nick of time, any commissioners have questions, just raise your hand. If not, I'll go ahead and start with the public questions that were addressed. Commissioner Cobb, you have a question?
Yeah, just real quick. Karen, did you want us to take a vote on this, on the concept too, whether we support it or not?
I definitely would love to hear some kind of letter of support from ANC, from the ANC, and if everyone's in a position where they have enough information and you can take a vote, that would be wonderful. But you know, we can have until the end of summer. So if you meet again in August and want to do this in August, that's okay with me.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Commissioner Henderson, you had a question?
Yes, Ms. McAllister, thank you for your presentation. So it seems like you've had some limited engagement with the public. You've had some feedback that says the majority of those persons reviewing the project actually have a preference for the option one. And, you know, it seems like you're discounting, or you and your colleagues are discounting that feedback. So we don't really want a process that has a public face, without actual public engagement. We think that this project should be disseminated far and wide throughout Ward 5. I've lived in my home now close to 30 years. I didn't receive any information about this. Did you do a briefing? And, you know, we want to see more engagement from the public, and we want to see that engagement actually acknowledged by DDOT. It's like, okay, well, yeah, you picked option one, but we're going with option two. So that defeats, you know, the spirit of public engagement and hearing back from the community and actually embracing what the community is telling you.
If I could quickly respond, we did do these postcard mail outs to, I want to say like 13,000 residences and businesses in the, I think it's 20018 and the 20002 zip codes, letting everyone know about the project. And and I'm not sure if DDOT did a great job explaining the traffic. Traffic is it's high, it's very technical, and I don't know. I wonder if some of the survey responses, if you're voting online, were you able to see the differences in traffic, and also understand that the bus priority lanes that you were voting for really they're not giving the improvement in service that you need. So I just wanted to add those remarks.
Have you done a briefing for the ANCs? Will you do a briefing specifically for the ANCs?
I'm happy to go to another meeting, but I've been engaging with the ANCs for about a year now. But this is the first time I'm actually at an ANC meeting, and I don't know if this is like super well attended. It looks like there's like 50 people here. But I feel like, online's really effective. When we went to the Arboretum, we had, maybe 70 there. I'm hoping this Saturday's meeting will be well attended, but I've also gone to Fort Lincoln to the senior centers. Like I said, the postcard mail outs, but yeah, we can continue to engage for sure. I can go to other meetings. I plan to go to ANC 5C in a couple of weeks and do the same presentation.
Thank you, Ms. McAllister. And just to clarify for the public, Ms. McAllister has been in contact with ANC 5D for the past, over the past year now, and the commissioners in 5D and 5C have made it clear I think on their first meeting, Ms. McAllister, that we wanted to make sure that engagement was successful, that we made sure we used all methods of correspondence to engage folks that were directly in the proximity of Bladensburg Road and all this work. So I think the in-person event at the Arboretum was successful, so I'm looking forward to see another successful event here in Trinidad. Commissioner Cobb, did you have a question?
Not a question, but I did just want to add to that this is just the study. And so, Karen, I believe there will probably be other opportunities for public engagement when you do like the 30%, 60, 90, whatever.
Yeah, that's right, Commissioner. But I will have to, I have to caveat that and say that the concept's really important. It's not to say that, the 2 lanes in each direction that we're recommending, that could change in the process, right? With more public input. When we hear WMATA's Better Bus, when that study finalizes and we hear that maybe the B2 is a high priority route, and that everyone wants bus priority lanes, I think that would be a reason to modify the concept. But I don't want to give the impression that at 30% and beyond we're gonna totally change the design, because that would be a huge waste of money. We've spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of resources in this past year, and we have a pretty good design that improves safety and multimodal access.
Okay, for the nick of time, I'm gonna shoot you these questions really quick. Does this project include improvements to 17th Street Northeast?
No, that's a separate project.
Okay. Do residents understand correctly that under concept 2, the bike lane will become parking during off-peak time?
No, the bike lane will not become parking. The bike lane will be right up against the curb, and it will have a vertical concrete, probably barrier, probably like a concrete cast mold, like 2 feet wide. So that will protect the bicyclists from the motoring public. And then during off-peak, vehicles will park next to that concrete bicycle barrier. But during peak hours, that will be a travel lane. There'll be 2 travel lanes.
Okay, perfect. Comment from Desiree Williams. Both concepts 1 and concept 2 increased delay times significant on both 17th and Benning Road. Did the committee consider doing only 1 lane versus 2?
concept one would have been one lane in each direction. Concept two is two travel lanes in each direction. And one of the reasons we chose concept two is because of the traffic delay concept one would have caused. I think that was the question.
Okay. And which part of Maryland Avenue would be converted to one-way, the Carver Langston side or the Old City side?
It's the side where the CVS is at. It would be from Bladensburg to Neal Street.
Okay. And I think that's it, Ms. McAllister. You might have a couple more questions on Saturday, but I mean, that's part of the job.
I really appreciate everyone's time. Good questions. I'll pop some information in the chat and I hope to see you Saturday. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Okay, that was Ms. McAllister with our Bladensburg Road study. And then we have one more presentation from DDOT. We're sticking in the same area today for tonight's meeting. Mr. Hansfield, when you're available, you can go ahead and start. I would ask the parliamentarian to manage time. Mr. Hansfield's been on our meetings before and he's gone over. So not to call you out, but just need to make sure that you know we have an agenda.
Yeah, I will aspire to be quick. And thank you, Karen. She's covered a lot of the same material because the interventions we have for safety are similar in many of these projects. Let me see if I can get this. There we go. So my name is Will Hansfield. I'm a project manager with the Transportation Engineering and Safety Division. I've spoken to this ANC a couple different times on various projects. And somebody asked a question just a moment ago about 17th Street. So I'm working on that as well. That's going to be the part of this entire corridor. So Mount Olivet, as you know, kind of continues on to be 17th or vice versa. And I'm working on Mount Olivet Road as well as 17th Street, starting at the southern end on 17th and then Mount Olivet. We're kind of going to meet in the middle. But I'm here to update everybody on both the background, give you a project update and a construction timeline. So I'm showing this image because it's a pretty similar type of road to what you would have. This is Brentwood Parkway, which I believe is also in 5D. We did this, I think, in 2020. So this is a two-way bike facility as well as a bit of a road diet. So before we did this project, Brentwood had a really high number of crashes, and the barriers that you see on the left actually were because that store has been hit by cars prior to our project like 4 times into the store. And so afterwards, I don't think they've had a crash since then, either into the barriers or other things. So that's a lot of why we do this work is overall transportation safety. Here's where we are. So we've been up to concept planning for many years, really almost a decade of concept planning with MoveDC's 2013 original version, 2021 update. We've done traffic studies, 21 and 22. Came up with a preferred concept between last year and this year, and we are now in the open comment period on NOI 23-93-TESD. I'm extending the open comment period because I realized when talking to one of your commissioners, it was a pretty quick turnaround between this meeting and June 15th, which is the end of this week. So we're just extending that. Also, and I'll get into this in a second, our construction is somewhat dictated by when DC Water demobilizes from the corridor. So we'll get to that in a second. But this is our original MoveDC map from 2013. That's the project area. So that purple line indicates the kind of this is the bicycle improvement map, and here's the 2021 version, so showing the same overall corridor. So one of the things we're trying to do citywide is create a network of low stress bicycling facilities. Today, riding on Mount Olivet Road is a very high stress experience. We did have a bicycle fatality in 2019 on Mount Olivet, and we are eager to have a facility that's able to be used by all types of people, all ages and abilities. When we create these types of facilities, instead of like a road that about 4% of cyclists feel comfortable using, we end up with a road that's something like 50-60% of the general population will feel comfortable using a road like the one that we showed in the first slide. Why are we doing these changes now? We have an obligation to address the multiple safety issues along the larger Mount Olivet 17th Street corridor, a number of substandard pedestrian crossings, which we'll get into. We have a lot of these ongoing dangers on these minor arterial type streets when they traverse residential neighborhoods. Our overall objective to create a network of bicycle routes for all ages and abilities. We've also received a number of traffic safety inputs, formerly traffic safety investigations, from the community. And then to connect Carver, Langston, Ivy City, Gallaudet, Kip, Rosedale. So all these neighborhoods are very close to each other, but hard to travel between the neighborhoods. And ultimately, this larger project will have significantly improved access to the Anacostia River Trail, which is one of our wonderful trail network facilities with a lot of great things. So here's your existing conditions. I think this is pretty familiar to everybody. So the main thing going on, of course, is there's a huge tunneling project that DC Water is doing citywide. So you're not the only neighborhood that's impacted by this, but you have a pretty significant series of construction impacts. And they are going away sometime this year, we are told by DC Water. So we are coming in with this project to follow them. So you have 2 travel lanes essentially today, right? That's how the traffic plan is arranged this. And the road, well, it's not great. It does work and traffic flows on it. We're very confident that we're going with essentially a 3-lane pattern. It's called a road diet pattern, sort of in the business. We're very confident this will not only be a very safe road pattern, but one that manages the traffic suitably. A couple of the key things here, over on the left, we're going to connect to the Brentwood facility with a little off-street trail so that we don't have to, have pedestrians and cyclists in that very complicated 9th Mount Olivet Brentwood intersection. We'll start the facility kind of, after those turns on 9th Street happen. Where those red stars are opportunities that we're studying for median refuges. My colleague Karen talked about those, but they look like this. This is one we installed about a year ago on New Jersey Avenue. This is another super high crash corridor. This is New Jersey Northwest in Shaw. And so this used to have 4 travel lanes, and we're averaging 1 serious crash per week on this corridor, including some really serious pedestrian involved ones and cyclist involved ones over the years. So since we've put this pattern in, it's gone way down. But the main thing for pedestrians is you're able to cross 1 lane at a time and have a safe space to wait. I'm showing you this one. This is some that are recently being installed. This is the actual construction process. This is on Tunlaw Road Northwest. So you can kind of see what you're in for. When I say construction, most of this project is installing equipment on the top of the street. We call them quick builds. But these refuges, we actually go the extra steps to install them permanently in the street because we know they work so well. In terms of the materials that we're going to use, these are those large concrete barriers. This is down on 2nd Southwest near the Audi field. And that's the type of barrier that we would most likely use along Mount Olivet, maybe some additional flex was. And then this is a look at what one of those off-street trails looks like, just to give some familiarity. So like I said, we're really just waiting on DC Water to demobilize from the corridor. They have a responsibility to substantially repave and restore the corridor to its prior condition, prior to when they were cutting up the roadway and digging drop shafts. And we will work with them very closely to restore the new pavement markings and then make the other changes along the corridor to make it all match. Then we put in the barriers and the median refuges and everything else. Overall construction period is actually not that long for these types of projects, 4 to 6 weeks. The reason I gave such a long sort of horizon is we really do not yet know when DC Water will be finished. It's kind of up to them. Again, it's one of those citywide, very important projects, as you know. So the big picture, we're talking like, what are the trade-offs? You have some pretty peaky traffic, at least in the prior condition. Again, that's sort of softened with the post-COVID work environment of a lot of people working from home. So our peaks are less peaky on traffic, and we know that we can improve the safety of the corridor. We're also able to address a lot of the things that have been reported to us by neighbors through the TSI process. We also have our citywide goals, all those big pictures: sustainable DC, move DC, vision zero, trade-offs with rush hour lanes, things like that. But I want to just, open the floor to questions. I think probably given time, maybe 3-4 questions, something like that, to hear what else is important. What's the right balance? Are we getting in the right direction? And I can put up some of those pictures again, so you can see what those might be. But this is my email address if you have comments on the plan. This is my colleague Beth Turner, who's working with us very closely to build this. And then we will also probably receive our next round of plans, and I'll send that directly to commissioners and put it on the NOI website so people have access to the latest in the actual plan sheets. But I'll leave it there, and maybe I'll put up one of our images so you can see kind of another look at some of these types of facilities, so you know approximately what you're going to get. And I'll open the floor to questions at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hansfield. So you put up this slide right here. Is this pretty much an extension of what we're going to see going down Mount Olivet Road?
Very similar, yeah.
Okay, and then I think on Mount Olivet, I think you stated in our COW in our working meeting a couple weeks ago, there's no parking on Mount Olivet per se, so there isn't any potential possibility to the project fiasco that we had on West Virginia Avenue, correct?
It's very different than that one. I think there is actually an opportunity to have some parking by the KIPP school, and that was flagged by the KIPP leadership as something that they would like to see. I think what's happening today is people stop in what is a travel lane and disembark so it would be a lot safer to do for everybody involved to program some space and deal with like intentionally, programmed parking. And I think there's not really much of a trade-off. There really aren't any turns to satisfy there. That's why we have the third lane, is really to process turns out of the flow of the general travel lane. So we think we can make that happen.
Okay.
With parking lane, bikeway next to the school, and then the vehicle travel lanes will be kind of on the cemetery side, if you will.
Okay, perfect. And just to clarify, we're still waiting just from DC Water pretty much to kind of determine where this project's going.
Very much so. Yeah. They don't know when they'll be done. They told us initially they thought like June, and it's June now, and we don't even get updates right now. So I am not sure. I wish I could give you an answer. It's just they're in the midst of a pretty big capital construction project, and I don't think they want to be there any longer than they have to be, is the only thing I could say.
No, myself and Commissioner Rhodes are pretty in close contact with Hadia Jordan, and they have been extending that project out for a while now. So hopefully they'll get that finished. Okay, and then because Mount Olivet's right off of my single member district, I have these questions just to clarify for the public. Crosswalks. I think that's what a lot more of the residents are more interested in knowing about over bike lanes per se. We just want to ensure that the pedestrian is still thought of when it comes to the installation of these. So there's a good amount of crosswalks on Mount Olivet. When you're you mentioned some designs in terms of what you're showing right here. I think would DDOT have the ability to install any lights, any crosswalk lights, any of those safety precautions at these crosswalks, or is that out of the budget?
And I only want to promise what I'm sure I can deliver. I'm sure we can program some of these in, definitely. And this is actually a very safe intervention for uncontrolled crosswalks. What lights would do is control the crosswalk. So that's a different kind of intervention. Sometimes it goes with these, but they do something called a warrant analysis, where they look at all the relevant transportation facts on the ground. And then there's like a whole set of criteria that have to be satisfied. And you go up in order of, starting with rectangular flashing beacons, and then a hawk signal, and then a full signal. So there's like 3 tiers of signalization. So those are always, things we can study, but I can't promise without doing those levels of analysis to deliver them. I can promise on at least the uncontrolled crossings to put in something that looks very much like this, or the equivalent of this. And we know these are pretty effective, both at general traffic calming, but also making these crosswalks much safer. So I'm gonna I'll stay definitely this, and we're working to put these in pretty much all projects. When we get to 17th, we're going to be doing some of these as well. With the other things, it's not just me. It's a whole list of things that need to be satisfied, and other colleagues involved. So I will. We can look into it, but this would be kind of a great starting point to really change the dynamic of how you cross the street, how safe it is, and how you feel as well. There's a large part of like just feeling safe that these deliver, that's not imaginary, it's real, because you're just not in a vulnerable position in the same way you are when you're crossing 4 lanes uncontrolled, which is the case now.
Okay, perfect. If there's questions from the commissioners, I ask you to use the raise your hand feature. We're pressed on time here. I'll go ahead and start asking some of the questions from the public real quick. If we get a protected bike lane on all of it, could we also get a contraflow bike lane on Corcoran Street to allow easy access to Ivy City by bike from all of it?
We can look at it. We're trying to do a larger push with these contraflow lanes. If you don't know what those are, we have them on G and I Street Northeast. There's some other ones coming. They're pretty easy to implement if the road has the right characteristics. So Trinidad and Montello are also streets that sort of have the right profile for it. So you want an existing traveling that's like overly wide. And those existing travelings that are really wide lend themselves to speeding. So we can put this type of facility onto the road, take care of the speeding, also create it as a nice bike route. And it tends to, hit multiple goals of the city at the same time. So I can look at that and add that to our larger contraflow analysis.
Okay, and then 2 final questions. What data or premise is used to gauge the actual utilization of the bike lane versus daily vehicle traffic on already high traffic areas? Have there been any consideration of mapping of bicycle lanes in more residential road routes to limit risks to cyclists?
In this case, if you look at the big picture, I'm going to go back to this. This is a pretty challenging area to do like neighborhood routes, because you're hemmed in by a couple things: the cemetery, the university, and some other like large tracts of land. The Arboretum, I think you could say, is one of those that's more on Karen's project. This is like a big NPS and also DC water facility over here. So there are these big campuses where we can't traverse inside them. And so if you want to go from here, over to here somewhere, you kind of have to be at least in part on Mount Olivet, and I think we will want to be doing some facilities inside Trinidad that are a little bit more low stress. I think maybe Holbrook's another one that has pretty good connectivity and could be suitable. But yeah, it's very difficult on a couple of these roads to find a way to cross them. Another pinch point that we've looked at is up here at Montana Circle. It's kind of, there's these limited crossings of the railroad tracks. There's like 4 total. Bladensburg, Montana, 9th, and then the last one is like over here where the Metro Branch Trail already exists. So those are kind of our big geographic challenges with doing those neighborhood routes. When we can, we do like to do those. It's just not really in the cards in this area in the same way it might be in another area of town. But we think we can do a really good facility here. I think there was a second question about how do we gauge ridership. We have a really strong track record of building these types of facilities and then seeing the use tick up over the years, and it's gotten really strong. DC is one of the top 3 cities in the nation in terms of like over the big cities, I should say. Not college towns are a different ballgame, but big cities for bicycle ridership. I'm sure you've seen the growth if you've been here as long as I have or longer. It's come a long ways, and people are really choosing it for many trips, and that's really the name of the game: trip substitution. If people are willing to do it, so that they're making the drive easier for the people that have reason to take a car trip and need to do that. So it's really this whole ecosystem works together. The more people that are taking bikes for short trips or even a little bit longer trips or school trips make the commute for everybody else easier. So but we are very confident in our practice of doing these road diets that we can satisfy the traffic demand that's there in just a much safer pattern. This is going back to like probably like 1998 is when the federal government really started pushing doing road diets. So it's not a new practice. And the math is really interesting in that the corridor volume, like how many cars can go through, is not controlled by how many lanes there are. It's entirely how, like, the signal frequency and how those signals are timed. The number of lanes almost doesn't matter compared to the other fact. And then the thing that causes crashes is multiple lanes in the same direction. And it's because of weaving and somebody stopping in front of you that's making a left turn or a right turn that's in the main throes of traffic. I'll leave it there. I could go on and on about road diets and why they're a great idea for every community, especially residential communities, but it's absolutely true. And there's a long track record of it.
Okay, perfect, sir. Well, I appreciate your time and sharing this information. You've been providing some good updates on what a plan could potentially look like. So we appreciate you coming out and sharing this with 5D.
Great, thanks. And I'll just say we have a new NOI close of the comment period, so that's now July 15th. If you want to get your comments in, have another meeting in which to do so. And that goes for everybody who's listening that wants to make comments on our plans. We'll send out the latest set when we have them and post them to the website as well. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the agenda in terms of voting action items, we have 3 left for the night. Our first one is a BZA case 20906. If you look at the agenda, we do have a couple other items to discuss as a commission and bring to the public for a voting. But we'll start off with a BZA case for 1251 Moore Street Northeast. I promoted, oh, sorry, Commissioner Cobb, you had a question.
Just the usual disclaimer that because of my day job, I am conflicted out of any land use and zoning matters. So I will go on mute and turn off my video. I'm not ignoring anyone. I'm just stepping away for the time being.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay, so when available, you can go ahead and start the presentation on this BZA matter. Just a friendly reminder to the public, this is when these projects come up to discuss some of the requests that they'll be making to the BZA Board of Zoning Adjustment, and this is again at 1251 Moore Street Northeast. We do ask the developers or the project managers just to iterate what exactly they're asking from the BZA in terms of this project, and always just what community engagement looked like in 5D. So whenever you're available, go ahead and start.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Marty Sullivan. I'm zoning counsel for the applicant, and the owner is here, Seper Sadeghi. I emailed him to raise his hand, and the architect Nima is here as well. I don't know if you see them out there, and I emailed them to raise his hand, so hopefully he'll do that. Oh, he must be under Alex's name as well. So that's how the link went out. So yeah, Separate, could you turn your camera on maybe, because it's coming up under Alex's name. So if I could share my screen, I will go ahead and do a presentation. So it's 1251. This is the property here, the green building, 1251 Moore Street, Northeast. Here's the another view of the front and a view from the rear. And another view of the rear of the building. Here's the relief being requested. It's all special exception relief. The first one is 10-foot rule. There is, of course, a limit on going past the rear walls of adjoining buildings more than 10 feet, and we're asking to go 15 feet. So we're asking for 5 feet of relief on that. A side yard, an existing side yard has a 5-foot side yard requirement, even though a new building doesn't have a requirement at all. So we're asking for a special exception relief to do the side addition. There's a closed court to get more light into some of the windows. It's a small closed court that has a minimum area and width requirement. So we're asking for special exception relief from that. We're also asking for special exception relief to do 3 units on a lot that's more than 2,700 square feet, and asking for relief to extend the existing cornice along with the side addition. Break my plans down here. Let me see here. There we go. So here is the existing and proposed front elevation. The white building here is the neighboring attached building. And there's a side yard here on this side. The other building has its own side yard. So here's the addition. The building will be extended over to the side. The cornice will be continued in a 3rd-story addition. This is the existing and proposed elevation in the rear. There is a side elevation and some renderings. So here's a rendering of the proposed front and the rear. I have slides to go through if you wanted to go through the criteria that the BZA is going to use to consider. I don't know if the ANC wanted to take the time to look at that. I mean, it's basically the light and air, privacy, character scale, and pattern test that you see for special exceptions. So we do have shadow studies as well regarding the light and air. On these shadow studies, the tan area represents the additional shadow from the additional 5 feet requested at different times of the day during different seasons. So this is summer. So this area here represents the additional shadow from the additional space that we're asking for, the additional 5 feet. And different times of the day. And you can see from these that the impact is minimal from that shadow. And so that's all I have. If you have questions for the owner here about the community engagement, we've had several meetings. We've had a meeting with the committee of the whole. We had a committee meeting, and then Mr. Sadeghi had a meeting, I think last week or the week before, with immediate neighbors. And he can talk about that if you have questions about that.
Sure. So before I ask the commissioners for questions, I would ask that Commissioner Roblin just discusses what was discussed at the meeting last week with neighbors.
Thanks very much, Commissioner. Yes, it would be hard to find a project that the community is more opposed to. We had a meeting of about 20 people, and every single person is adamantly opposed to the project. The owner was really just not willing at all to consider any kind of compromise situation, just very adamant about everything staying the way it is. And I would suggest that I would ask you all really to think about this and change your mind about taking a little time, postpone the hearing, and take a little time to talk with us. We have an expert opinion that 3 of the exceptions are okay, but the side yard and the courtyard, one of the issues are that it's going to set a precedent, a big precedent. The way the neighborhood is, the way the street is right now, the architecture is all the same. It's all 2 by 2. It's basically all single family almost. And this would really, really change things. Both the buildings on either side could make big changes, and it could really destroy the way the neighborhood is basically. And I would ask all my commissioners to support my constituents and the community on this. Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Roblin. Were there any questions from commissioners on this project directly? Commissioner Henderson, you had a question?
Well, I'm looking at this project, and I think that it's clearly out of scale with the community. Thank you, Commissioner Roblin, for sharing.
Commissioner Henderson, you muted yourself.
Again, thank you, Commissioner Roblin, for having a meeting about this matter. This project is emblematic of a number of troubling projects with pop-ups and coming before this commission to get some sort of support for these projects that just represent a rogue element. And when I mean a rogue element, it just they go against the rhythm, the scope and scale of the existing community, and it's really troubling. So I'm going to be voting no. I would hope that the other commissioners would vote no. And I thank any citizens that vehemently said no. And if there are citizens in this meeting that are in other areas where these type of rogue pop-ups have been allowed to proliferate, just know that help is on the way. We can roll back some of these unpermitted buildings, but this has to stop. It's just inappropriate. And, you know, no insults to the presenters here. You have a right to come and present, but we also have a right to say no.
And Commissioner Henderson, Commissioner McCollum, you had a question?
I wanted to echo the sentiments of Commissioner Roblin and also Commissioner Henderson. I do have a question specifically for the gentleman who's presenting or the owners. And I just like to ask, considering that so much of the community is against this, why are the owners not willing to compromise or find some type of way to work with those who are in the community directly? Why so much opposition to what the community folks would like you all to consider for this project?
I'll try that first, but Separate, you can weigh in if you want. I haven't heard any offer of compromise. The relief we're asking for is so minimal. So the matter of right project here is to demolish the building and build something that looks like this, but it won't have any design requirements. We won't have to retain the cornice. It won't be retaining the bay, and there won't be any design requirements on it at all. And it can go back 10 feet beyond the rear wall of the neighboring building. We're proposing a building that's under height. It's under lot occupancy. It's way over the rear yard requirement. It has 2 parking spaces. It meets the parking requirement. It provides 3 family-sized units. The thing that we're asking for is to be able to do a 3rd unit. If we built it new, we could do just 2 units. They would be much larger units. And we wouldn't be able to go more than 5 feet past the rear wall of the neighboring building. So the main complaint that came up was that somebody who lives 2 doors down is worried about her solar panels, which are completely 100% protected, regardless of what we're doing here. I heard a comment from Commissioner Roblin that the court was a problem. The court isn't even required. The court is something that's internal to the building that just provides window space. You can see it on this rendering here. It's a little notch out in the back here. So I guess we'd be interested to hear a reasonable proposal to do something because what we're asking for is not.
Well, I mean, if I could, I know that some of the other commissioners have something, so I'm gonna go ahead on and yield quickly. But I tend to not agree with those who present and say that we're meeting the requirement and we're not going beyond the requirement, because I understand that there's requirements and those requirements are throughout the entire city. But when a developer is coming into the community, for me at least, I'd like to see when the developer will entertain what the neighborhood would like. And I do also agree with you saying that, you know, if you're not in violation of anything, I get it. But at the same time, it's just like saying, well, we're not going to have parking spaces for something. We're going to provide bike racks, but no one in the community rides bikes. So for me, I think that this really is, if there's so much community outcry and so much opposition against this, it's almost impossible for us in good conscience to support something like this. And then to hear that you all are just meeting what the requirements are and you're not exceeding those things.
Well, that's not what I'm saying, but those requirements are also known as property rights, and those property rights are how properties are conveyed and sold with an expectation that you are allowed to build something. That's how housing gets created in the city. That's how it gets maintained. That's how it gets built. That's how it gets rebuilt. And so there is a matter of right option here. But the matter of right option is not that much different than what we're proposing here. And I haven't heard, like, if we're asking for 5 feet in the back, if we went 3 feet instead, would that be helpful? But it wouldn't change anything other than restricting living space.
Well, let me take this conversation back. So for the sake of time, I think what the community is saying is addresses have been made, but what options or what different plans have you brought to the table to address those concerns, rather than saying, well, we could just demolish it and do our own thing instead. It's just that's not community engagement, sir. So just your approach right there, I wouldn't agree with. So
well, we have engaged with the community, and if they're unsatisfiable is my, I mean, I haven't seen so much hyperbole. The block is made up of a mixture. There's a lot. I've done at least 5 apartment building cases on this block, so I don't know how you could say it's all single family, but I understand when you have people complaining about regular development.
Right in that area, it's single family. I'm sorry, Marty, but we talked about it at the meeting. You weren't there at the meeting. We were talking about compromises. One of the things is the offer of the rear yard ADU. Rear yard ADU, where you can have the 3rd unit, but without extending into the side yard. A very large ADU, 30 feet deep, which the ANC would support zoning relief.
Can't do that. We tried to do that on Moore Street, actually, and it got upended. We ended up delayed for 1.5 years, and Max Tondro came back and said, you're not allowed to do that 1.5 years after it was 1.5 years after it was approved. So we can't do a separate building.
Mr. Wilson, why not just go the by right route then?
We want the additional unit.
Right, but I'm saying
another family.
That's all it is. We want the additional unit.
It's what you want, but it's also a community there, and it's what they want as well. So what I would suggest to you,
community is not putting money in. Community is not investing. But I'm the one that's putting the time and money in.
The community
trying to determine what I can do or not do with it. Just to appease them. And it seems very adversarial. It doesn't seem like they have a legit point. They're very adversarial.
Well, the community. And I would also say that the community has spent money here. They pay taxes here. The community has been here before your development.
I live in the city. I've been working
in the city for 20
years.
A lot of developers give gifts when they develop.
Yeah,
they give gifts. They help people with this or that. They put money into
bribing.
So that's completely inappropriate for the ANC to ask for that. You do know that, right?
I thought they got
I'm just saying it's not. I know.
Have some order, please.
Okay. A matter of order now, as parliamentarian, I'm going to have to call. As a matter of order now, as parliamentarian, I'm going to call everything to order. Points have been made, and let's go ahead on and take this to a vote.
I do suggest that we take this to a vote. We did have some questions from the public, but we're going over time.
I make a motion to oppose.
Can you clearly state the motion, Commissioner Roblin? Well, Commissioner Arbuckle, did you have a question, or do you want to take it to discussion during the vote?
I want to take it to discussion during the vote.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. What was that motion, Commissioner Roblin?
I make a motion to oppose BZA 20906.
Second by Commissioner Henderson. I believe this is open for discussion from Commissioner Arbuckle. Commissioner.
Hello. So my goal in this position is my primary priority is housing affordability. Because in this city, we have a really bad problem with housing being expensive. And as I have looked in the market all across the city, the only homes in this neighborhood and in a lot of other neighborhoods that are like ours across the city, the only homes that are under $500,000 that have 2 bedrooms at least, The only homes like that are generally in these pop-up condos, because of the ability to share the land costs and because they're generally smaller than a renovated townhouse would be. So I understand the concerns because it is going to look different. But as someone who swore an oath to support the interests of the District of Columbia as a whole, I can't in good conscience vote to oppose housing that's going to help our neighbors and our future residents, our kids, people who are kids today, etc., going to be able to have a home to raise their families. So I can't in good conscience oppose this.
It's not affordable though, Commissioner. It's not affordable. So it doesn't help the community.
He referenced future residents as well, and I think a lot of these usually tend to just go for future residents, not the neighbors that actually live on the block. But Commissioner McCollum, you had your hand raised. Are we good on time on the discussion, or I'm sorry, you're muted if you're
muted.
Yeah, I was just gonna I mean, we're kind of running out of time on discussion, so we have probably another minute or so if someone has something to say. If not, we need to get ready to take this to vote.
These units are going for 800,000 each. It's not affordable, Commissioner Arbuckle. So it's not helpful to the community.
okay. Any other final comments from the commission during the discussion on this vote?
I just want to know, is this true that Alexandria Wilson or the other guy that was speaking, are they going for 800,000?
If I may add to this,
I'm just asking a question. Are they going for 800,000?
That's the target price is, but it's a 3-bedroom, 1,500 square feet apartment. Right now, it's a 1,200 square feet house. If I remodel it as it is, I have to sell it for over $1 million just to break even. And it's only 1,200 square feet. I'm turning 4,500 square feet of living space on that block, 3 bedrooms, each 1,500 square feet. It's large enough for a family to grow in.
Got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. So it looks like it won't be affordable for the folks that live in our neighborhood. Majority. I know some folks can afford it, but majority of folks cannot. But we appreciate you sharing those figures and being honest about those. Okay, those 3 minutes are up on this discussion. There is a motion on the floor by Commissioner Roblin to oppose this project, second by Commissioner Henderson. Those in favor of opposing this project say aye.
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 Aye. Any in opposition of the any opposed to the opposition say
Nay.
say nay.
Nay.
And any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, so the ayes have it on that motion. We'll proceed as ANC 5D opposes this project. We'll submit that to the BZA. For the folks that are for the owners and developers on this project, if you want to request an extension to the BZA and bring this back up to discussion, feel free to do so. We welcome that. We want to see development in our neighborhoods. We just want to see it work for our neighbors that live here, that breathe the air, that walk on the sidewalks, everything. So just I understand there's some confusion in terms of what that looked like between neighbors, but hopefully we can clarify that if the opportunity still present itself. Okay, with that being said, we have 2 final items for discussion tonight on tonight's meeting. Trash committee establishment and a letter from WMATA on the better bus feedback, which has been a hot topic for a lot of folks on our part of the ward with potential remove of some bus routes or clarification on that. So I'm happy our transportation chair did draft a letter on that. But the first thing that I presented as a resolution is to establish a trash committee. And that was shared via our agenda. But let me, someone speak. Okay. Sorry, I'm just going to share this. So if you look at tonight's agenda or go to our website, you can easily pull this link up. Pretty much establish, oh, what's this transportation? I need to edit that. But pretty much establishing a trash, littering and illegal dumping rodent control committee composed of residents of 5D, specifically 2 to 3 residents from each single member district. We've been talking about trash. A lot of commissioners have been tackling trash. Myself, Commissioner Henderson, Commissioner Rhodes, a lot of us have been dealing with a lot of trash issues, Commissioner McCollum as well, everybody. And it cannot be done just by one person. And it clearly isn't being handled the best by even our director. So I came up with the idea to establish a trash committee to get residents directly engaged on this issue, again, from littering, illegal dumping, rodent control. We need to come together as a group and convene and tackle these better than what we're doing right now. A lot of pockets of folks are kind of doing work on the ground, but I believe that 5D does need a stronger sense of establishment with this. And I know some folks are really excited and interested in being on this inaugural committee. It's all of this we do, all the ANC commissioners, we all do this as a volunteer basis. We took an oath to do everything in the best interest of our city and residents. But we do sometimes need help, and with that being said, it would be great if we could see some volunteers from the community to address our trash issues, because I some of my colleagues do believe that trash does make a difference in terms of what kind of community we see, what kind of block we see. And I think trash is directly associated. Trash is a big word I'm using, is directly associated with some of the crime that we see in our neighborhoods. So if we see cleaner streets, I do believe that we'll see safer streets. So with that being said, the resolution is presented as a draft and it will be edited as I open this up to the commission for a discussion and a vote. Are there any questions from commissioners? And again, if there's any questions from the public, if you could drop them in the Q&A. I see more comments from the last agenda item, but any questions, feel free to drop them in there. Commissioner Henderson?
I don't think we need a trash committee. I think we need to make sure that the agency works well. The agency reports to the mayor. The mayor can't seem to get Mr. Spriggs to do that, to do his job. That I'm pretty sure that when he came to the position, he didn't say that, oh, we're going to just overlook sanitation enforcement. We're going to overlook street sweeping. We're going to overlook the services that we've historically provided. Thank you for the citizens that want to be on the trash committee, but we also have an issue where there are people in the neighborhood who've been caught on video actually dumping trash. So this seems disingenuous, and it seems like some type of political ploy to give certain individuals credit for doing something that was working, that is not working currently. So for that reason, I see no reason to create any additional bureaucracy to say we need a trash committee. We need the Department of Public Works to do their job. They're supposed to pick up the trash once a week. They're supposed to issue notices of infraction when citizens dump and allow trash to remain on the property. It's really that simple.
Well, I disagree, Commissioner. I mean, you've been a commissioner since, I don't know, the 70s, 80s, 90s. And you've been fighting this task and issue for a long time and nothing changes. We get new directors. I've been a commissioner. This is my third year as a commissioner. This is the third or fourth director for DPW. We can't depend on these folks to do this work. We can't depend on the mayor's office to keep tabs of every illegal dumping site, every illegal dumping site that we see, or every litter can that we get removed because it's been overfilled with neighbors' trash. We need to tackle this more strategically. We need to work as a group collectively. It shouldn't be just commissioners in their own single member district. I do believe that residents do care and are interested in seeing cleaner streets. So I would open this to getting people engaged and involved with this issue because it's an issue that plagues us all in 5D and a lot of our brothers and sisters east of the river. Nothing political. I don't know what you can get out of establishing a committee, but I do think it's an appropriate thing that we do need in terms of handling this issue that DPW cannot. Commissioner McCollum, you had a question? You're muted, Commissioner.
I was just keeping you all track on time.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Rhodes, you had a question?
Just that I think it's a good idea. We do have a rodent problem. And if everyone picks up trash in front of their homes or just help with a committee to clean up on their streets, that is no need to lead to a broken system. We can do it ourselves and get it done. And I think this is cool.
Thank you. No, I think it would be a great opportunity to coordinate some of the cleanups that we do amongst ourselves. So the committee is open to be established of how the committee members want to see it move, but I do think it's a great tool and platform to get people more engaged on the trash issue itself. And we see some folks wanting to volunteer in the chat, so that's great. Any other questions from the commission? Okay. With that being said, I have that resolution, that drafted resolution that will be edited to be formatted correctly. But I do make a motion that we support this resolution in establishing a trash committee and formalizing it at our next ANC meeting with a proper chair and co-chair. Can I get a second on this motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. If you're opposed, just you can wave your hand, Commissioner. Thank you. A thumbs down. And any abstentions? Okay, the motion carries. We'll move forward with that project this summer. Folks, be on the lookout because we're going to be asking for folks to get to work on this problem. So hopefully we'll get somewhere this year. Final item of the night. We have a few minutes. I don't think you need all of them, Commissioner, but we have your letter in terms of.
I want to be on record opposing that motion, that resolution.
Okay. Great. Go ahead, Commissioner Cobb, if you want to discuss the letter that you have in terms of the feedback from WMATA.
Yep, sounds good. Just going to share the draft letter that I have. Okay, so this letter is about the Better Bus Network, and I don't think it's been very well advertised yet because it's still pretty early in the process. But basically, WMATA has run Metrobus for 50 years now. And they've made some route adjustments, you know, and changes a little bit here, a little bit there, but they've never really reimagined what their bus routes could be. And so that's what they're doing now with the Better Bus Network. And they're basically just starting over from scratch and thinking, you know, if we had the funding, how would we redesign our bus routes? And they released the draft routes maybe about a month ago for public comment. And there's some good stuff in there, but as far as our neck of the woods is concerned, I think there was also a lot not to like. And so really, this letter provides our feedback to WMATA on the Better Bus Plan, on draft routes that are, you know, that affect our area. And I'll just go over the 4 points really quickly. First, WMATA is cutting the D4 and they're not providing any way to get directly downtown. Their plan is for people to take a new route to Union Station and take the red line from there. So basically the D8, but that's not good enough. You know, I've taken the D4 downtown many times. I've taken the D8 to Union Station to downtown many times, and they are very different experiences. You know, our neighbors should be able to just get on the bus and go downtown. The second is that they are having a bus to Union Station, but it's not the same as the D8s. Doesn't, you know, it just goes across H Street. It doesn't parallel H Street. So, you know, you just have to get off at, I don't know, 14th or wherever it crosses and walk all the way down if you need to go to the other end. It also doesn't go to Rhode Island Row, you know, if people need to go to the shops up there. And it doesn't go to the hospital either. You would now have to transfer buses at either Rhode Island or I think at Rhode Island to get to the hospital, which is not good enough. And yeah, and additionally for that, you know, it goes from, I think, Fort Totten to Union Station. So it goes from the red line to the red line. You know, it should start or end somewhere with better service. So basically that's the issue there. Next, WMATA is consolidating bus routes, shifting them around so that I think there will be, let me check, through Trinidad, there will be 1 bus route, and through Union Market, there will be 3, which I think it is a good idea to have some buses running through Union Market, you know, especially if you want to get from Ivy City to Union Market or something like that. But there's no reason to have 3 bus routes traveling through an area that's steps away from a metro station, you know. So we just, our third point is just asking WMATA to rejig the routes, put more of them through Trinidad or Carver Langston or Ivy City, just more central, farther away from the metro station, you know, where we need the bus even more. And finally, ending on a good note, they are, I don't know if anyone here remembers the X3, which was cut in December 2020, but it basically went Benning Road east of the river all the way to Woodley Park. And so it was just a really easy way, just walk down to Florida, you get on, you can go to Union Market, U Street, Adams Morgan, the zoo, anything like that. They're proposing to restore that route. So we are voicing our approval of that. So that's where we are now. The official comment period for WMATA closes on the 18th. So we just need to get this letter in before then. So that's why we're introducing it here today. And there will be other opportunities for comment in the future, but I think it's good to do it now at the most preliminary stage where WMATA is most willing to make the most changes to its proposed routes. So, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll ask some commissioners to raise their hands for questions, and anyone in the public can drop a Q&A, and any question in the Q&A. Just a quick question, Commissioner. I really like the letter that was drafted in terms of this concern, but is there any way to address safety concerns with the removal of the D4 and with the interest of cutting back the D4? I think there was I think some folks state that instead of having the D4 available, the X2 should be a go-to route to get to downtown. I know the X2 is not as reliable, but let alone does have safety concerns sometimes. So I think those concerns should probably be melded in there somehow in terms of what they're asking us to substitute or commute with. I use the D4 to get to my job when I take the bus, so I don't want to overbear my own personal connection to the D4 on anyone's judgment, but I do know a concern with folks taking X2 is just either reliability or safety.
Yeah,
no, go ahead, sorry.
No, I think those are great points. I'm writing some notes, if you can see in the draft, in real time, just so I can go back later and make those changes if we agree to them.
Perfect. Commissioner for 5D02, you had a question?
Yeah, is this are they cutting the service down to get people to appreciate the streetcar more? And also with us in Ivy City, we're already sort of like isolated. So taking that bus away will do a lot more harm than good. So we really, really need that bus route to remain and stay the way it is. It starts here in Ivy City, and we have folks that rely on that bus to get back and forth to work, get back and forth to school. And we need as many comments and support as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think WMATA is taking into account the streetcar or the circulator or anything like that. It's just looking at its buses and coordinating the bus routes with each other and coordinating them with Metro Rail. Sorry, what was the other part of the question?
No, just I think Commissioner Rose is saying the isolated effect, because obviously they don't got no metro.
Yes, yeah, we'll be isolated, and we already the D4 and the D8 is our only options, at least to get on towards the hospital or downtown. other than the E2 going the other direction, but yeah.
That's a good point.
Okay.
Good point.
Commissioner Roblin, you had a question or comment?
Yes, thank you. I was talking to Commissioner Vijay Kapoor. He was on the Zachary Parker's team for this Better Bus Visionary Network. And he was saying that, like, instead of asking them to bring the whole routes back, it would be better to focus on adding the parts that we still need to what the replacement routes are. Like the 211 route, we need to add on Ivy City there. Like, because he was saying that some of the replacement routes are actually really good and will really help the district, but they have left important things out, like Ivy City. So he was saying it would be better to go at it at that angle. But I don't know like how their process is going. So I'm going to vote for this because I don't think that's happening yet. But I just wanted to point that out because some of the changes they're making are really good changes, but they have abandoned some really important areas at the same time. Why? Who knows? But they're not always doing, taking care of everybody the way they should.
Yeah, just a few points there. I tried to word the letter so that I'm not saying bring back the D4, but I'm saying, we need to revise it to include a line that goes from Ivy City through Trinidad to downtown, and I just trust that WMATA, they'll be smart enough to know, okay, then we should extend the 211 or, whatever the best way to do it is. And, there is a lot of good stuff in the Better Bus Plan, and I did take the effort to point out the local one with the DC 213 being like the old X3. But, WMATA, they have a mandate to look at the entire DC area, and there's some, they're going to have to take some from some places, give it to other places. Even the Ward 5 task force, I really liked the council members' letter, and I cited it in our letter because they make some really great points. But they had a mandate to look at all of Ward 5. We here on ANC 5D, we have a mandate to look at our ANC and make sure that our neighbors are getting the best bus service possible. So that's why I really just wanted to focus on our ANC itself.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Blacknell, can you give the final comment before you take the vote? Our parliamentarian stating we are all out of time.
Okay, yes, I'm going to support the letter, but when one of my constituents read a draft of the letter, she was kind of upset because the X8 was not included. And I tried to explain to her that they're not cutting the X8 route. They're cutting the D4 and the D8. And I'm very upset because I do catch the D8 to go to Washington Hospital Center for my doctor's appointments and everything. So I am going to support the letter.
Okay.
Just one more thing. I've released the letter on social media about a week ago, so I have been getting some feedback from constituents and from people who know a lot about this kind of stuff. And actually, I would just like to, if you go to the chat, I think it was, I've heard this from other people. Andrew Grinberg made a really good point about point 3, about disapproving of shifting bus lines from other parts of ANC 5D through Union Market. I think maybe it might be better to soften the language in that paragraph a little bit and say, 1, we need a connection from Ivy City to Union Market. And then 2, I think maybe the council member's letter, it did a better job of it, saying that if we're going to have service in Union Market, we should shift it to somewhere like, not the local roads that are going to be more backed up, but maybe more like New York Avenue or somewhere where the buses aren't going to get bogged down. So I think maybe I would reframe point 3 to say we need more bus service in Trinidad, Carver Langston, Ivy City, and we need just a connection between Ivy City and Union Market, something like that.
Okay. So with the revisions being made to this draft, Commissioner Call will finalize it. I do make a motion that we support this letter, that we do support this letter as a commission. Can I get a second on this motion?
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Roblin. All in favor of supporting this letter that we'll be drafting for WMATA, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Okay, and any abstentions?
Abstain.
Okay, we have one abstention. The motion carries. We'll go ahead and finalize this draft and get it out to the folks that really need to see it. Thank you, Commissioner Cobb, for drafting this for us.
Thanks all.
Okay, with that being said, we've come to the end of our meeting. This is an opportunity at the end, if you look at the agenda, that we give opportunity for community feedback and questions. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the Q&A. If you prefer to ask the question directly, feel free to raise your hand. I'll allow you to talk. So we'll have these few minutes to give opportunity for residents to speak directly with the commission. If you do have questions and you need to bounce, feel free to always reach out to us via email. You can always find our direct contact information on the ANC website. And your commissioner shouldn't be too far from you, because our single member districts are not that big, dense, but not that big. So I'm not saying go knock on your neighbor's door, but feel free to contact your commissioner as needed. I have one question. When will the ANC start holding in-person meetings again? I think it helps foster community between neighbors. I agree entirely. Our next in-person meeting, for those that were in attendance at our prior meetings, we did vote to state that we'll be holding meetings virtually until the month of October. Is that correct, commissioners? That I believe it will be holding our first in-person meeting in November, or is it October itself? Can't recall off the top of my head, but the short answer is starting in the fall, we'll be holding in-person meetings. And as we have our break next month for the month of July, we will also have a break in the month of December. So yes, Kevin Horgan, I also do support hybrid meetings, and anything that will be in person will be hybrid. So we'll be hoping to get technology set up for that to make sure it's a hybrid option. Commissioner McCollum, did you have?
I was just going to give you clarity. We voted to align ourselves with the mayor's mandate on in-person meetings during the pandemic, and so it expires at the end of September. So we voted to align with that. So we are virtual through September.
Perfect. Okay. And I have a question here from Kara Rollins. You have the ability to unmute yourself if you have a question.
Oh, I was actually the one who reached out to Commissioner Blacknell about the X8. And I just want to clarify what they're doing with the X8 is it's now running from Carver Langston to Eastern Market via 4th Street, which means it no longer has connectivity to Union Station. And as somebody who I rely on that to get my son to daycare, I rely on it to get to and from work, including working late nights. And the problem is if I get on the metro from downtown and I go to Eastern Market and I get there at 7 o'clock at night because I had a late work night, if that bus isn't there, I have no other way to get back to the neighborhood. At least if it's coming to Union Station, if the weather's bad, if the bus is delayed 20, 25 minutes, which is now current lead times, I can wait inside. I can hop on a different bus. I could get a bike. I can call a cab if I have to. And that's the deprivation that I'm concerned about. It's not that, hey, connectivity down to Eastern Market is great, but it's going to create problems because if you're relying on that, and I know this from the X8 right now, I can't tell you how many times you show up and there should be a bus there and it's not. Or you're waiting across the street and it drives off and you have to wait another 20 minutes. And that's my problem. And so there's a lot of people who ride that bus, rely on that bus, particularly to get from Starburst Plaza up into the core of Carver Langston because of the hill. And that's what needs to be retained, and making sure that people have a way to get home, because it's just not really possible from Eastern Market. And if the bus doesn't show up, you're stuck there. That was the point I was making.
Thank you, Ms. Rollins. We just have two final folks, and then I'll ask to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Shaw Richardson, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you so much for creating the committee that you guys did tonight. It's absolutely much needed. But my question, I guess, is how do we join that committee and the other committees that are within 5D, like zoning and other stuff?
Well, the zoning committees are always open to the public, and that information is readily available on our ANC website. But if you want to specifically join a committee, reach out directly to your commissioner with that interest.
Okay.
Skip Keats.
Hi, per the buses, I haven't seen the report. So I have a couple questions. Does it tie anything to do with the streetcar in at all?
No, the redesigned bus routes just try to coordinate with other WMATA bus routes and with Metro Rail. So no streetcar, no circulator, nothing like that is taken into account.
Okay, because I use the X8 also sometimes. I mean, I have a car, but I've been trying to use public transit as much as I can. And I take that down and I connect to, I forgot what it is. It's another bus that goes from that area. I think it might be one of the circulators from the Union Station area to go for doctor's appointments. Sometimes they're over in Georgetown.
Mm-hmm.
And Georgetown, of course, doesn't have a metro. Also, there is a bus, I think it's the 92 or the 90, that already goes to Eastern Market, unless they're changing that. And you can connect with that at 8th Street on the X8 passes 8th now. And that's where the X2 also goes down and hits them at 8th, and they run down. I think one goes to something Heights. Forgotten where the other one goes, but they go right past Eastern Market. For those who are trying to get to Eastern Market, I don't know why they would be moving the X8. Does that make sense? Especially as the X8's the one that connects with like 4 different circulators the city's been pushing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they made a lot of changes to our part of town that just left me wondering what they were thinking.
I think it's a bad idea.
Let's get those comments in.
Yeah, I'm looking for the website. It's hard to Google the WMATA's actual Better Bus project. You know what? I think it's already in the chat. If you go there.
Okay. Thank you for the comments, Mr. Keats. Ms.
You're welcome.
Richards, you also have the ability to talk, and you'll be the last one for tonight.
Thank you so much. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Pia Richards. I reside in very close proximity to here in the neighborhood. I have had several conversations with Commander Altieri, Lieutenant Sharp, and other members of 5th District MPD patrolling in Trinidad. But in this meeting, I couldn't help but notice in blatant, obvious nature that there appears to be a lack of strategy being applied to crime stopping and, to our detriment. I see the standard that we're holding developers and bike lane stuff to, but it doesn't seem like we're treating the instances of gun violence and the reports of not just shootings, but bullets being shot as serious as a matter as these other issues. Respectfully, we have one ununiformed officer that reports numbers, and I'm not hearing, and this is based on everyday observation on a hot block like this, and many instances of engagement with the top ranking officers. And I know that I'm a civilian and there's some sort of barrier for them to be able to communicate exactly what they're doing. But when someone is employing strategy, we would see a result in the numbers. We would see a result in what we're seeing every single day. But every month, I'm more and more clear that, these locations are known for 30 years. Locations are known for 15 years. These locations are known by everyone in this neighborhood. So, I didn't want to wait 2 months to, have this comment be put on the floor, but I really like all the commissioners and especially our chair's support and to continue and partner in conversation with the community members and legislators to get this in front of the mayor and action taken as quickly as possible. Like, we need to be demanding that they put forth funds. We need to be demanding that they, with all due respect, I thought that Captain Merrill's response, just to flat out say there wasn't a shooting there was a shooting. He may not have been aware of the details, and I would also say that they are so common that, this is the response that we're getting, and the subtleties of this, may not be as obvious to some, but they're preparing for the future with bike lanes and stuff. But there's no attention there's not as much attention, and I think we can just be honest about that. We have 3 minutes to report on that, but however long to report on this, and it's really a crime in itself that this is the standard. The standard is incredibly low, and I want to appreciate all of you all for being so front facing in your approach. Thank you all so much. And I would like, to just make it publicly known that, because I've been wondering, like, am I going around anyone having these conversations? But I feel like the urgency needs to be ended, and that they be more upfront. There's a lot of vague language. These numbers that they're giving us aren't really, they're just numbers to us. But we as community members, we know all the patterns, we know everything. So they need to be hearing from us. And we need to demand that they partner with us. And we need to be able to have results-oriented, in-date driven, quantifiable, qualifiable, community feedback-based strategy applied as soon as possible. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Ms. Richards, for the comment and feedback. Our ANC public meetings provide opportunity for MPD to, yes, read the stats and engage the public a bit, but there are much better entities and platforms to be involved on to get better details, more transparency. And I think the first step is to go to every single district, every single MPD district in the District of Columbia has a Citizens Advisory Council. Or is it, I say it every meeting, and I'm going to say it for every meeting until I'm dead. You need to attend our 5D CAC meetings so you can be more engaged on the conversation rather than, yes, just listening to the stats, getting a bit feedback here and there, or yes, we'll check out that space. Those are more in-depth conversations with the 5th District Commander and other folks doing exactly what you're trying to do. And we're looking for a secretary to join our executive board. I happen to be the treasurer. So please, I would love to see you at our next meeting, and any other resident, including the ANC commissioners. Commissioner Henderson attends, Commissioner Roblins attended a few. please come out. We need people to be more directly engaged representing the community when it comes to policing in our neighborhoods. So so please reach out to us, the website 5DCAC, and you have my contact information if you're interested in attending. I'll say this with great honesty. Every single resident that I've had join based on behalf of 5DO5, they've gotten something out of their attendance, whether getting a really good point of contact for the matter they're addressing or learning something entirely new in terms of their approach of the situation. So please, I'm not kidding you. Please attend those meetings. Just like you all are attending these ANC public meetings monthly, I do ask that you also attend our 5DCAC meetings monthly if you care about crime in the city. So with that being said, I'll close. We're over 20 minutes on our meeting today. I will ask that we adjourn tonight's meeting. Can I get a second on this motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Blacknell, per usual, with a very strong second. All in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the ayes have it. Motion carries. Everyone, please be safe and enjoy the rest of what you have for tonight. Have a good one. We'll see y'all in August.